Welcome, everybody, back to the Apron Bumps Wrestling Podcast, episode 23. We are in the midst of the second episode of Season 2. I forgot to mention that when I did the predictions review, but I am, of course, your main hostess with the mostest, I suppose, if we're going to get really cringy about it. I'm Brayster, Braden Mayhew, along with my wonderful, wonderful co-host, Mr. Gabe Nozid. It's the first time we as a duo have done a review in 3 months since AEW Full Gear. Gabe, how does it feel to be back on the show? First time on season 2 and first time in 3 months. How does it feel to kind of actually finally be able to be involved in the episode?
Oh my
tell me about
god,
that.
it's been so long. I
I
remember
know.
we were gonna talk about war games at one point, but we just got so busy in our real life, so
Just
situations.
respective stuff going on, and
Yeah. So
he had job responsibilities. I had finals within like the week after that, the week leading up to that show and afterward. It was busy, term papers, all that kind of crazy stuff. So now, and I mean, there was I had a midterm also, like the week of the Royal Rumble, so like I ended up skipping that show too, which I kind of regret in hindsight. That'd have been maybe
yeah,
a
we
good
haven't
one
reviewed a single like main event or main roster
in
every
forever.
while.
We
It's
skipped
crazy.
Survivor Series, which I mean, I
Is it really a
not.
big four anymore?
I know it still counts because it's been around forever, but like it's not what it was, and it's just we skipped that one, but I wouldn't have really liked to have done the Royal Rumble, but
Yeah, that was a really good Rumble.
it was. I thought the women's was great. I thought the
That was
men's was
good.
some pretty good stuff. I enjoyed minus the finish to Reigns and Owens. The finish got kind of fucked up in that
Oh,
match,
that was
but
hilarious, Braden. Oh my god. I
felt
was
bad for
like,
those guys.
the ref literally stopped counting at 6. I'm like, hold on. The whole point of the ref
You
bump
know,
is because he was about to touch 10.
if they would have just not had another referee come out, they'd have been fine.
Yeah,
Because
it would
Roman
have been
took out the
okay.
first one. He knocked out the first one. So if that guy didn't come out to replace him so quick, they might have been okay. That referee just came back because he expected Reigns to get out quick, but we all know that it did not. It was not a quick
And then
process.
Owens looked stupid too. Like
Yeah,
as soon as Reigns got up, he just ate a spear. Or he gave a spear to Owens, and I'm like, okay. Or was it a guillotine? Guillotine. It was a
yeah. Which
guillotine. Yeah.
I could kind of go on to bat for KO here. If we're talking about a real life thing, like you can get caught in a guillotine and get choked out. I don't mind. Like if it was just like a little spear or whatever, but like he got caught in a submission.
I'm not, but this is Kevin Owens though. Like he's had so much like in ring like experience. Like a little guillotine submission right after being handcuffed is gonna get him in a last man standing match. That's bullshit. But it's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Reigns is still the badass chief he is, I guess. But Owens needs to get
Great
something
gimmick.
soon.
I think
Yeah,
it's like
great gimmick.
I think it's like the best gimmick going in the main roster anyway. Best gimmick going. I'll talk about the best gimmick in NXT when we get to it, because it needs to be talked about once we get to that segment. So finally, I couldn't stay away anymore. This card looked fantastic on paper, so I had to predict it. Decently predictable card. I'm not going to say that any of the outcomes surprised me. One did, and we'll get to that. But it still really didn't at the same time. But I predicted 4 of the 5 matches correctly. So it was not a unpredictable show. Well, I mean, the ending was something too, and we'll get to that. And that was something I did not predict. But as far as the outcomes for the matches go, most of the people I thought who were going to win did win. But that's not necessarily a bad thing if it makes sense. Like, I know Brandon, our friend and other co-host, likes to trash predictability and how it takes him out of stuff. But if it makes sense for the long-term story, I don't think like predictability is all that bad in wrestling if it's done decently. What do you think about that? I think sometimes predictability is fine if it makes sense in the grand scheme
Of course, like
what the plans
the
are.
whole the whole match with O'Reilly and Balor, like we all knew O'Reilly wasn't gonna win yet.
Yeah.
But the best part of it is like, oh, what if there was a chance? That's why we kept watching. Like, oh man, he has a chance to beat Balor, but we all knew deep inside it was gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still a great ride to go through. Like we can see that O'Reilly is capable of winning the world title in NXT, and especially after the pay-per-view, like, oh shit, he really could win the world title now. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, I think that the most important thing about that match in hindsight back at Takeover 31 was, like, even though he lost, he really got put over as, like, okay, this guy can actually wrestle as a singles. Like,
Yeah,
even
and
in loss, it put him over as, like, a future title contender and eventual winner, I think. I think it set him up pretty good.
the writers were on the wall anyway. Like, if you followed him through ROH and New Japan, like, he's been taking the ROH title. I think he fought Adam Cole actually for the ROH title in Wrestle Kingdom. So it's just obvious that Kyle O'Reilly can get it done in tag or in singles. He's just that good.
Yeah, it's like he's got to work his way to being the singles guy, though. They keep him in a tag team forever,
of course.
Then eventually they give him, like, the babyface run, like, after years of putting in tag team work, which is fine. I mean, a lot of guys had that happen. So we'll get to Kyle at the end of this show, because he did have a presence at the end of the Takeover. So we started with, of course, I got two matches right on the match order, and then it all fell apart on the third one when the tag teams went before the women. But for the opener and the North American title match, I got the match order right. It was good for two matches, and the third one is when it fell apart, except for the main event. But I got two match orders right for once. I actually got the opener right for once. Usually I always fucking get that wrong. But it was, in fact, the women's final to the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, the women's tournament. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, the heels, which I'm going to have to talk about and point out, against the babyface team of Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. I thought they were the babyface team in this match. Then the match happened, and I was completely confused, because I'm going to talk about that. So, for a good portion of this here bout, Raquel Gonzalez got, like, a few big, like, power spots that, like, 2006 Batista or 2005 Bobby Lashley or whatever, 03 Brock Lesnar. Mm-hmm. We're talking powerhouse. Again, there's been a lot more of the men that have been powerhouses than women, but she got those, like, big pop spots where she's tossing the smaller girls around, and, like, you want people to boo that, and she's, like, kicking ass all over the ring. Like,
she's doing, like, pop spots. Like, this is stuff that, would definitely get a casual crowd who may not know wrestling at all, like, to cheer, like, or excited. Like,
even the regular fans would cheer, because she was beeling these women all over the place. So she's throwing them around, and then eventually Dakota gets tagged in, because she's kind of like the the HBK to Raquel's Diesel. So she gets in there and she starts working, and it's really weird because all of a sudden Ember and Shotzi are working her over and, like, double teaming her, like, as if they're, like, the Revival against the Young Bucks or something. And it's like they're working her over and beating her down, and, like, Dakota is trying valiantly to get to Raquel, trying valiantly to get there, and then she's using counters to get out of stuff, because she's a very good worker. She knows what she's doing in there. She gets some sick counters. She gets so close, they cut her off again, and then eventually Raquel does in fact get the big hot tag, and she runs wild again for a while. But
she gets the hot tag, and you hear boos, Brady. I'm like, why do they play the boos on a hot tag? I know they're heels, but, like,
yeah, but you built up the hot tag on camera. Like, it was a very significant part of the psychology of the match, which was completely ass backwards. Like, I thought going into the show that, like, Kai and Gonzalez, they're the villains. They're the bad women in this particular rivalry.
Yeah, that's
you watch this match. If you watch this match with no context, you would have thought they were the good guys, the clear-cut babyface team, but they weren't. It was very weird. And then all of a sudden, the action just starts getting kind of wild, where everybody's hitting a bunch of stuff. I think, like, Ember Moon shortly thereafter ended up hitting an Eclipse on, was it Raquel? It was Raquel, right? It was early on. She got it. And Shotzi, bless her heart, she tries doing some really crazy stuff. I recall a sliced bread number 2 that didn't look the greatest.
Oh my god, she almost died. I wrote a note on that.
yeah. Bless her heart, she was doing some stuff. It did not look the greatest. Like, there was some sloppy moments here, but it wasn't ever, like, too bad to where I completely got out of it. I just was like, okay, that didn't look too smooth. And it was mainly from Shotzi trying to do stuff that's, like, I don't want to say it's way outside of her wheelhouse, but she was definitely taking some risks that were, unnecessary. But it's Takeover.
205 stuff, like, very, very, like, daredeviling. I mean, that's her character, I guess, that she's, out there and all. But in the ring, I mean, she looks like she's actually gonna die from those spots.
So we the women, they trade some stuff back and forth. I thought a couple of, even though it was kind of ridiculous to the psychology of the match, a couple of the double teams that Ember and Shotzi did on Dakota Kai, where they they double take her down by the leg and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was kind of some innovative offense that they were doing as a team, which makes me hope that, they eventually just like the Cruiserweight title, they just take the women's tag titles and put it on NXT, because that's the show that actually deserves those belts and has the talent that's worth having those titles around for. I mean, that's what the winner of this tournament ends up getting, is a shot at those belts. Hopefully it's a way to transition those titles to going to NXT, because it's just like nothing's going on with them on Raw and SmackDown, and it's like,
they've always been accessories. Like, it's just, it never meant anything.
At best, they've been accessories, So like, and then there was a brutal, I think it was like a doomsday device of something on the outside.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah,
that was like there was a doomsday device outside, and then I think, that's what I put down in my notes here.
Yes,
something else happened. I forgot though.
It eventually comes to the point where like Raquel does another comeback, and she like just beels Ember Moon like right into the dasher boards off this like big stage thing that they had connected to the ring. It kind of looked very similar to that like ramp that AEW has on Dynamite and their shows. They had like this big,
I noticed that too.
Big fancy ramp.
It's connected to the ring too.
Yeah, it's a big fancy ramp, and so like Raquel just hauls Ember off the stage, and she goes crashing and burning. She's done. She's taken out. I thought that was
hilarious.
And Shotzi tries some stuff, but she gets overwhelmed by a double team from Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. They do some double team stuff, and then it eventually leads to Raquel hitting her big goozle like choke slam move thing that she does, and she pins. But then Dakota also helps with the pin, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. But I guess they're heels, so they can do it because they're booked to win. I don't know. Pretty sure that's illegal. I won't question it. They get the pin. They win the Dusty Cup for the women, the first ever Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic for the women. It's a big deal. So they're gonna get a shot against Shayna Baszler and Nia My Hole Jax. Now, I don't know. Did you hear anything about that for freaking Raw last week, or
who didn't?
I know, right?
It's all over like the internet. Like
most over she's ever been.
One day, and that was the reason why. Like it was trending. Oh my god! It was trending out of the wrestling like category. It was trending worldwide. I'm like, holy shit! My whole thing is. Oh man! But they're like running the joke into the ground last Friday.
Let's not forget that was supposed to be Lana's big like return win after months of getting put into a table, and yet everybody's just talking about what Nia said like a goofball, and like nobody remembers that Lana got a tables win after freaking months of build. It's just like
it was a lame table spot too. It was just a little like push or shove or pound through the table.
It was brutal. But those are
Lana's been like thrown into like or driven through these tables like just the smallest.
But this giant woman complaining about her hole is one half of your reigning women's tag team champion. So that is one half of the people. I mean, and then poor Shayna, she's fucking done nothing of note after the Becky Lynch feud. Unfortunately, she's just there. Former MMA
I don't know why
fighter.
They're not booking her. Yeah, like
it's the easiest thing.
She's one of Ronda's like girls, so like I don't see why they're not booking her like I thought they would as soon as she got called up.
It's so easy. Have her pull off like pro wrestling versions of like actual MMA submissions, and have her tap people out and just kill everybody. Because she probably could in real life with these. So it's, I don't know, but she's there with Nia, and they're this weird, odd couple tag team who's doing better. That's who Dakota and Raquel get to challenge. And let's
you think they're gonna take the belts from them?
I'm just hoping that maybe there's like just some lame babyface team that WWE throws at Shayna and Nia, and then they can win, and then like they'll just be quick transitional champions who just lose to Dakota and Raquel. Unless of course it leads to nowhere and Dakota and Raquel just lose their tag title shot and it goes nowhere, but it just gives Raquel a big victory on a takeover before she goes on to face Io Shirai for the women's title. Could be that way too. Could have just gave her an accolade that really goes to nowhere as far as winning the belts is concerned. Could really go one of two ways, and I'm not entirely sure which side it's gonna go. Guess we gotta tune in in the next few weeks and see where it goes. But I'd say either A, they do, whether they beat Shayna and Nia, or whether they beat a transitional babyface team that comes after them, or it goes nowhere. They have one and done shot that they don't win the belts, and then just Raquel goes on to bigger and better things, that being challenging for the NXT Women's title.
It's just interesting they're putting two heels together for this occasion, for this tag team title defense. So
yeah, well, I guess they were giving the babyface one to the men, so the women had to be different.
So you think they're gonna turn face, the Raquel Gonzalez and
No.
Dakota? No,
I don't think.
Well, someone has to wrestle face in this match.
If it happens, as I said, there's no guarantee that it's going to be Shayna and Nia they challenge. They could lose the belts before Dakota and Raquel ever get their shot. We don't know where
you're right. Go. Well, yeah. Is there any challengers for what's the next pay-per-view? Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, I believe Lana and Naomi are your current number one contenders.
Oh God.
To the women's tag team titles for that pay-per-view. Yes, I can hear your excitement, Gabe. The fact that match exists.
I'd rather just have Dakota and Raquel just be faces for that one match, and then bring it back to NXT, and then be heels.
I'm hoping they do end up winning, because at least we can hope that they take the belts with them and they just stay with NXT and they adopt those titles like they did the Cruiserweight belt. It's the best case scenario, but I don't know where it's gonna go.
I feel like they are gonna lose it to Lana and Naomi, because I don't think they want to look weak to the NXT wrestlers, because it's Shayna and Nia Jax, my whole Nia Jax, so they have credibility in the casual wrestling audience compared to Raquel and Dakota.
I will give Shotzi one thing. She does have a nice looking senton. I did like the time when she did break up one of Dakota Kai's pin attempts with the big senton off the top. I think that's the one top rope move she does that actually looks fairly decent. Forgot to mention
when Shotzi gets called up, she's gonna make a lot in the main roster. She is
marketable,
just oozing charisma, marketable, exactly. And she stands out against any woman in WWE right now. Even main roster.
I kind of really don't want her to go up though.
I don't either. She defines the NXT women's division. How Triple H wanted the punk rock aesthetic. She's definitely the face of that.
I think Triple H is very high on Shotzi Blackheart.
Oh, that's a given, Brady.
I think he's very high on her, and he sees big things for her on the black and gold brand. So hopefully she goes nowhere.
Yeah, she just needs to wrestle better, under NXT. Main roster, she can wrestle like that, and we'll still think she's good.
I think as beautiful as the Eclipse is, I think that's got to shorten Ember Moon's career, hitting that fucking thing for every match. That's a big top rope flying fucking stunner where you land on your ass from the top rope.
Yeah, it's really going to mess up your tailbone over time.
Your spine. I can't imagine that's a great move to be pulling off all the time. But she knows it's over and people like it, so...
That's the only thing that's getting her over at the moment, to be honest.
They brought her back, and then they threw her into this with Shotzi, and then it seemed like she was going to get the Toni Storm spot, and then they just didn't. And they went with Toni, which we'll get to her shortly as we go on with this review. I thought this was a very good opener. It's whatever the opinion is, but most people ended up going with the women's title match as being the weakest of the show. I thought due to some, maybe some sloppier moments and the crispness not quite being there for this match, that this was just slightly worse than the women's title match. But that's not a knock on this or the women's title match. This was a show with a lot of very strong matches, which we'll talk about very soon, coming up next, and the main event and the men's finals. But I thought, even though it was very good, I thought that this was actually the weakest match of the show. But that's not a knock at any of these women. They worked hard. It was
definitely
entertaining.
Not. This match was
it kept my interest.
It was very enjoyable. Yeah.
But I just think in comparison to everything else on the show, I think it was just by default the weakest. And that's not a knock. With every show, there's got to be one match that's the lesser of what you watched, and for me, it was this. Some other people were saying it was the women's title match for it being a lot of time getting cut off of it and it being too short. But I still thought this is very good stuff from all these ladies. Literally, we're talking a quarter of a star difference from the women's title match. True. What's your final analysis on this women's finals, Gabe?
So. Yeah, I agreed with you definitely. This match, it was the opener, so it just kept me open-minded still. But it was still a great match. Of course, they did some fuck ups, but especially with why are the faces working on the leg and making the hot tag for the heels? But whatever. That's I guess they want to try something new. But other than that, it was still an enjoyable match. They had some really cool spots, and the right team won.
Definitely the right team won.
Yeah. So I give it a thumb up. Nothing.
Oh yes.
Nothing bad.
Yes, yeah. This gets the old proverbial I give it the thumb and a half, so to speak. The thumb and a half, solid thumb and a half. But that's also another knock I'm gonna have, was that the psychology was so backwards in terms of how the match is laid out and work, that I kind of have to knock it a bit, because if it had perfect psychology, I'd have rated it higher, but I was kind of confused with Ember and Shotzi's offense, and kind of how Dakota Kai was fighting from under, and Raquel Gonzalez is getting hot tags despite the fact that they're heels. But it was what it was. The right team won. They're getting a shot at the women's tag team titles at some point, and I think this is just kind of done to kind of give Raquel Gonzalez a big highlight moment, a big accolade before she eventually goes on to challenge Io Shirai, because I think she's next in line, which we'll talk about.
What this also proves to me, Dakota Kai can be a good tweener one day, and it's kind of hard to find a really good tweener in wrestling. There's Dean Ambrose and Finn, and and one of the greatest wrestlers in WWE is Stone Cold, and he's known for being just a badass anti-hero. So
yeah,
it just proves that Dakota can be a good one, but we'll see.
I still think Moxley and Balor, they kind of lean on being pure baby faces in terms of their ass kicking.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. This is the best Finn Balor I've seen so far.
He is the best.
Dean Ambrose as well. Or John Moxley.
Yeah, Moxley's been doing great work in AEW. Definitely, I am not surprised if he ends up winning the Observer's Wrestler of the Year for 2020. I don't see anybody else winning that award. Maybe I'll do a little show talking about those results when they come out in March. But anyway, we go on to the next match of this particular show, which is the NXT North American Championship match. Johnny Gargano defends against Kushida. So Kushida comes out, gets the big takeover entrance. He's decked out in his Back to the Future gear to come out. He's a time splitter, you see. And then there's Johnny and his faction, The Way,
they are the best.
Celebrating and getting all pumped up backstage. They're being as lame as possible. They're annoying They are annoying to perfection in the way where it's those fucking people
Brayden.
Are just yeah, I know. I was trying to get my words there, but they're doing this role so perfectly where you are annoyed by them, but you're it's still fucking entertaining. It's they are really good. So they start pumping themselves up, as they all go to enter. There goes Dexter Lumis, and he chloroforms Austin Theory, seemingly kidnaps him behind, because Johnny, Candice, and Indy are all walking to come out. So he Dexter Lumis, like a cartoon character, just nabbed Austin Theory as they are walking to go through the main curtain.
All cartoon characters.
Yeah. I know, to be fair, but Loomis really stands out. I've never heard of a kidnapper babyface before. I haven't.
Yeah, we were just talking about this. It's just really weird.
It's a really weird gimmick. So I'm supposed to cheer a guy who used a chloroform rag and knocked a guy out and then took him against his will. I didn't know that was heroic.
It's been like that for a while, ever since he debuted, which is weird. They never made him a heel, in any. It's been almost a year.
He's positioned as a babyface doing this stuff. It's weird. I didn't know taking somebody against their will was heroic. I didn't know I was supposed to cheer for that, but maybe I am. So he gets them. They go out in the front. They go out on the stage. Johnny's ready to enter, but then they notice that Austin Theory isn't with them. They look around for him. You got to go find him, Johnny says. He's sending his wife and her girlfriend to harm's way. He's going to make them go look for Dexter while he goes and wrestles this match. Isn't that putting them in harm's way? He just took out big strong man Austin Theory. Now he's sending a couple chicks for Dexter Lumis. He's going to chloroform them too, Johnny. Hopefully he went and checked on his wife and Indy after this match, and he had his successful title defense. Yes.
They never brought it back later on.
I know.
The show. They never said anything about it, which is hilarious.
As he sent Candice and Indy there, I just couldn't think of that's not safe for them. You gonna have them go look for that fucking creep while you wrestle? Jesus, Johnny.
We'll just have to tune in Wednesday, I guess.
Maybe we'll see the backstage footage of what happened to Candice and Indy, because they didn't come back out either. Let me point that out.
They did not. Oh,
nobody came back out, so maybe Dexter did, in fact, kidnap all of the way. I want to see the hostage footage on Wednesday. Maybe that'll get me to tune in over AEW, seeing the hostage footage.
about the Way's like little like entrance because of how great this match was. Like as soon as it ended, I'm like, oh damn, yeah, I forgot all about the Way. Like he didn't come out to celebrate with him or anything. Like, oh,
well,
shit.
the reason that you forgot about the entrance was because Johnny gets in there. He's been booked as a chicken shit North American champion since he won the belt. So forever now, he's been positioned as like this guy who hides behind his wife and their friends, and they do all the bidding for him, and he just squeaks by. But then he comes out here at TakeOver, and he's like Johnny Gargano from 2018, 2019. And him and Kushida go on to have a hell of a match, which, as you pointed out, did not start with a lockup, but then they did end up locking up shortly thereafter.
That was weird. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was gonna go straight into like the works, but okay, I guess they're gonna lock up.
But it didn't take long. They did in fact lock up, and then there was a lot of chain wrestling at the start. But it's like the smoothest chain wrestling you're ever gonna see.
I'm so effortless. Most chain wrestling from main roster is just really
not this
really
good.
Damn boring. Yeah, not this is amazing.
Good. This had a like their pace for the wrestling was quick. Like they were moving in that ring. It was crazy. Again, it was basically very similar to the main event in the sense that it was kind of like body part versus body part, but mainly Kushida working on Johnny's arm. So in the lead up to this, Kushida kind of attacked Johnny after Mr. Regal had booked the North American title match, and in this, Johnny tweaked his arm and then tried to pretend that it was broken, which it wasn't. It was just his excuse to try and get out of the match, which Kushida exposed on television. But they still played it up as if Johnny's arm was a little hurt. And Kushida, in fact, I think Johnny even had it like he might have had it slightly taped up too, if I remember correctly. But Kushida focuses on this arm and tries to get him in either any form of armbar he could do, but he's also trying for the hoverboard lock. But there were times where he would go for a cross arm breaker. There were times where he'd go for a Fujiwara. He was trying to do any form of like MMA style armbar submission to try and put Johnny away. But what was interesting was Johnny always had a counter for it and was always able to use his wrestling mind to get out of these predicaments. But then Kushida is also a great grappler, and he would find a counter to that. So it was very much a seesaw battle in a lot of ways. Very fast paced. Kushida was flipping all around that ring. Like every time like Johnny would like throw him forward into the ropes, he'd do the what do they call it? The backflip hamstring, like the big flip back elbow. He'd go for that.
Yeah, the handspring.
Yeah. I knew it had a name.
Elbow, yeah.
He went for that a few times. He caught Johnny with a couple clean. He was just flying around the ring, and he would catch Johnny with a couple like a German suplex, and Johnny would take it. It was just it was awesome. And there were times where Johnny would also try and match Kushida on the submission game, and he would try and go for the Gargano escape. And there were times where he did almost like slightly lock it in, but Kushida always made sure that Johnny couldn't fully get the submission in. And the times where both guys did end up locking their respective submissions on the other, they would build to this really dramatic rope break to where you think, okay, does he got him? Does he got him? Oh, man, he actually made it to the ropes. Like, that happened a couple times. It happened once for when Johnny got the Gargano escape on Kushida, and it happened during one really close near fall for Kushida in terms of a near submission where he kind of had Johnny clean in kind of like a modified version of the hoverboard lock where it was much more on the ground, like Kushida wasn't kind of hanging from him. So basically it was almost like a Fujiwara armbar is what he had him in, just slightly elevated, and then Johnny, with the back of his foot, makes the bottom rope to break it up. There was a point in this match where both guys get to the top rope, and Kushida looks to do like a front suplex or like some sort of superplex from the top, but Gargano pulls Kevin Owens and does like the twisting Tower of Doom style superplex off the top.
That's his wife's indie finisher.
Is
Mr.
that?
Yeah, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Yeah,
I remember Kevin Owens using that in NXT.
Yeah, he used it too.
And a couple of his like he doesn't use it anymore. I'm talking like his first year on the main roster, and pretty much all of his big NXT matches he would use it. Like in particular, I remember him hitting John Cena with that big crazy twisting superplex in their Money in the Bank 2015 match. It might have even happened in the first time they wrestled each other too at the Elimination Chamber show back in 2015. I remember Kevin Owens using that move in his early NXT days. So that happened.
I think
go
Kevin
on.
Owens would do. Yeah, he would do like a suplex lift before he would turn it around. All Johnny and Candice would do, they would just do a neck breaker like variation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's
But
what
still,
he did.
it looked cool. He had it had a twist motion in the air, and he hit the big suplex. Kushida, I think, hit he hit, like, it looked like a Michinoku driver or something on Johnny on the outside, which kind of led into them.
Oh, it was a Falcon Arrow.
Yeah, it was a Falcon Arrow with Seth Rollins' specialty move there. Hit him with that on the outside, which led to them kind of having the struggle on the top rope. They do, in fact, grapple towards the end of this bout. And
which was really cool.
And it was
I
really
didn't
cool.
expect that.
Yeah, they kind of turned it up a notch, and then they end up going to the outside, and Kushida kind of disappears, and it kind of focuses on Johnny, who's trying to gain his wits about him. He'd gotten some space. And then, like the great Japanese wrestler Kushida is, he does the old New Japan, All Japan, let's run from the ramp and clock this guy as I run towards him, build up a steam of momentum, and just plow into Johnny, and he did that. Just ran into him and bulldozed him. It was a great spot. And they traded some more stuff in the ring, and I really like the finish, even though it was not my prediction. But so Kushida does in fact end up successfully getting the hoverboard lock in again, but he's so close to the ropes. He's hanging, and he's like an inch above the ropes. So Johnny just kind of drops a bit, and Kushida gets throated. He gets kind of guillotined by the rope on his throat, and he falls to the outside, and he's all choked up. And Johnny, with that that big ring IQ, was able to know that and was able to use the ropes to his advantage to escape. And Johnny hits the one final beat on that that pretty ramp we talked about earlier, hits it outside, and then he gets back into the ring. He waits for Kushida to kind of get his wits about him, and as Kushida looks to enter the ring again, Johnny hits one final beat, DDT one more time in the ring, pins Kushida to retain the NXT North American title. And it's of note that for once, Johnny actually defended a title at a takeover without losing it in his first defense. He usually always does, so I thought Kushida was going to win, because usually Johnny makes it to the first takeover and he drops the thing. So the one time where he actually retains, of course I bet against him. Even though I did say I wouldn't be surprised if they kept the belt on him, my full prediction was Kushida winning the belt here. I kind of feel he should have. Unless you're building to a rematch, unless this is a one and done, I feel really bad for Kushida if it's a one and done, because he had the best match of his NXT career here. I thought this was the best match he's had.
This was a really great match. It just sucks that Kushida, his character is just shuffling between everywhere right now, because he was the hottest thing when he debuted. He had a great theme, and they were booking him strong until Walter came in the picture, and then now he's in 205 Live, and he came back to NXT, and he has an identity crisis. Like, this is weird stuff that I didn't expect Kushida would be in ever since he debuted. So I feel like, yeah, he had a great match and everything, but his character is just something that I don't really believe in. I knew he wasn't going to win the belt, for sure.
What's your issue with his character exactly? What's your issue with it?
So he was just, okay, so in New Japan, he was always this, like, he was the definition of a junior heavyweight, a super junior. In fact,
he held the belt, did he not? Like a couple times.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest, junior heavyweights there, junior heavyweight champions. And then he comes to NXT, still a badass, still being Kushida, and then his identity crisis character. Oh, this is the real Kushida, that says Vic Joseph, and I'm like, is this the real Kushida? Like, he's wrestling in what's it called, wife beaters, and just having more anger. Like, we can all have anger and all, but I don't know, his Kushida being angry almost basically every time now.
I don't know if he's like super angry. I just think he's a little more grit. He's a little more aggressive in terms of like how he works over the body and stuff, which is like, I would say it would be bad if he couldn't pull it off, but I think like his ability in the ring and getting aggressive with the submissions doesn't look fake, or that he's like forcing it. Doesn't look.
Oh no, he's definitely making the submissions look good. It's just his character, like him being more grittier and
you just
fierce.
Think he should be much more just like clean cut babyface? You think that just suits him the best? It's just being like.
That's how I saw him in New Japan, and how everyone else enjoyed him. So I don't know. I thought I wasn't alone on this, because I saw some podcasts talking about this. Like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not alone on this opinion, but hey, everyone likes. Some people like him, some people don't.
I've been a fan. I just wanted them to give him a push, and I thought this was going to be the beginning of it. I thought, okay, they're going to put him against Johnny, and they're actually going to have him win the North American belt, and he's going to get a fucking run with this thing. And that's what they're going to do to really, like, rehab the stop-start for the last year with him.
Could have been possible, but they didn't give him the belt. Which
I know. I found flabbergasted. I thought, like, for sure. Like, because Johnny don't need the belt to be... He's a made man in NXT.
Yeah,
no matter what he does, regardless if he wins or loses, he's always going to have that top-tier spot in NXT no matter what. Kushida is really trying to get that one big win and accolade to really cement himself on the brand, and I thought this would have been a great way to do it. Yeah, he had a great performance, but he still came up with the L. I thought he should have won here, and I don't know if I'm in the minority of that opinion, but I really think he should have won.
I don't think he should have lost, but I feel like I just didn't believe that he would have won. If he would have won, I would have been happy. Like, that would have been awesome. Like, and like you said, they could have, taken it somewhere, and it's just that I just knew that he wasn't going to win, and that's just me. I just feel like...
Yo, go on.
Yeah, there just needs to be something with his character, not just this grit thing, just to really make him feel more believable, or maybe he could have more believable feuds. I think example is Keith Lee. I didn't really believe in him when he got debuted in NXT, even though I knew he was a badass in the Indies. And then he had that rivalry with Dijakovic, and that's what made him a star in NXT. So I feel like he needs to find that, I guess, rivalry, or find that storyline.
I think it was even more than the Dijak stuff. I think what really happened for Keith Lee was him aligning with Tommaso Ciampa against the Undisputed Era and kind of plowing through those guys. The Survivor Series finish with Roman Reigns. There was a couple of big moments that he had in the fall that really got people to notice him. And then he had the match with Dijak in Portland, which was a fucking hell of an opener. Probably the best opener for a takeover all year, in my opinion. It was the best opening match.
I forgot that was last year.
Yeah, it's already a year ago. It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
but yeah,
time flies.
And then he just kind of plowed through everybody as the North American champion and moved up to win both belts, beating Adam Cole. And he had a really good rise, I thought. A really good, progressive, natural rise. And it began with him kind of getting slotted for the North American title and winning it. That's what I thought they were going to do with Kushida here, but apparently not. And what I'm really kind of worried about is that this is a one and done for Kushida, and they just kind of put him back in that cruiserweight spot where he barely gets any TV time, and they just kind of phase him out, and then they just fully focus on Dexter Lumis being Gargano's next North American title challenger. I hope it leads to a rematch. I hope it leads to a rematch with Kushida, and in his second try he wins, but I'm not hopeful for it. I think Lumis is who they're going to put against Gargano next, and then that's who he's going to fucking drop the belt to, is the Kidnapper. Missed opportunity here.
He could win it, Kushida. I feel like that would be over a TV taping, though. I feel like that would be a great, spike in viewership.
Could be, but I think winning on a big show is a special thing, and they blew their opportunity to do it here. In his, first takeover title match, winning the second big one, winning the secondary title in, his takeover title match debut. It would have been a big deal, but, hey, what do I know? What do I know, right? I was disappointed by the outcome. I love Johnny, but this was not a match I wanted him to win, and of course he fucking won. But as far winner aside, I thought this match was fantastic. As far as NXT and WWE goes, it is a surefire match of the year contender, in my opinion. And I'm going to go out on record and say, as much as I love the main event, I loved this match just a little bit more. This was my personal match of the night from this show. Again, a lot of people are going to love the main event or even the men's tag team finals. I get that. Those are the matches getting a lot of glowing reviews right now, and I thought they were both great as well. But on a match with great shows, sometimes there are matches that you prefer just a little bit over the others. And again, we're only talking a quarter-star difference here, Just that little bit more. I did like this match the most. I thought it was fucking fantastic. I thought this was like the Johnny of old. I thought it was like a coming out party for Kushida, and I hope they fucking keep it up and keep giving him spotlight matches like this and keep building him, because if it's a one and done, I feel really bad for him. Yeah, sure, you got your great takeover match against Johnny Takeover, but we know Kushida can do something in NXT, and I just think it'd be a blown opportunity if they don't give him the secondary title at some point. I really do. What do you think, Gabe? Your final analysis on this match and where both Johnny and Kushida go from here after your analysis? What do you think?
I've been thinking like how else could they, get Kushida over, because it's just very difficult, in the spot, especially right now. But I mean, hey, they could pull it off. NXT knows how to really, shine their stars if they really go for it. So go for them. So yeah, hopefully Kushida can shine brighter, especially from this match, because this match was, in my opinion as well, match of the night. Like yeah, you weren't kidding. Like, I saw the rest of the matches, I'm like, okay, let's see how they can compare to, Johnny, Kushida.
Oh, so you're actually in agreement with me. I also agree that this was the best match of the show.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, okay,
I was
sweet.
gonna rate it like 2 thumbs up, because this is a wrestling clinic
Oh,
classic.
yes.
Like its showcase.
Like it was a long
front.
match too. I think it might have been. I don't know if the main event was longer.
It didn't
or
feel
not,
long.
But
That's
I
how you
know.
know that is, yeah,
I knew it
how
was
good of a
long
match
because
it
when
is.
I looked at the clock, it was significantly far past when I last looked at it when the match was done. So I was like, "Holy fuck!" But like the match flew by.
I was looking at the screen the entire time.
I only looked at it
classic.
because I just like keeping track of time, and I was just wondering what the time was at the time the match started. And then when I look up after the match was done, I'm like, oh, that's a significant amount of time that the clock had passed by. I don't know. The main event might have been as long or longer, but this felt like it was like the longest match of the show, and it didn't fucking feel like it. I'll tell you that much.
No,
this
definitely
match
not.
blew by.
This match was definitely, as I agreed with you, match of the night. I just hope Kushida can go somewhere from here, like you said.
Same. But I feel
because
he's gonna
match was great.
I feel like he's gonna get shafted though, and he's just gonna get pushed down, and then they're gonna go with like Loomis for Johnny's next challenger. It's just I wouldn't be surprised. I just have a feeling, which would just be such a shitty thing, because I'd much rather see Kushida win the belt off Johnny than Dexter Loomis. And I'm not a Loomis hater, okay? Like, I don't hate the guy, but I think there's more potential to be had in Kushida as a babyface champion than Dexter Loomis. Is that fair to say? Is that fair to say?
You're definitely in the right. And I also like to add, I don't think it's his time yet. I don't think he's had enough storylines to really be put in a title picture yet. Like, he's been around for like a while now, but I just feel like he's his injury really caught up to him too. Like, he's just that background like character who's always doing creepy things. Not even creepy, like weird things, if you think about it. He hasn't been creepy like he was in TNA.
And like usually characters like that don't translate to very good champions. Ever. Like rarely. So it's like, I don't know, man. I'd much rather see Kushida in that spot. So I hope they don't dump him. I hope it's like what I'm hoping for, best case scenario out of this, is that this is like a long-term story for Kushida to finally beat Johnny in the end at some point. But I don't have enough faith in them to push him after this. It just seemed like, who can we give Johnny at TakeOver? What's Kushida doing for fucking this month? And then they booked him. Oh, that'll probably be fucking great for one show, and then that's it. That's my big fear. But I hope that this will end with Kushida eventually winning the title from Johnny. But I do think they're going to go with Dexter Loomis now, going forward into the spring, unfortunately. But we'll see. Next, of course, was the finals to the men's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. MSK, the former Rascals from Impact and the Independent Circuit. They are now known as Wes Lee and Nash Carter. Wentz and what was their Wentz
and Cray.
Yeah. Wentz and oh my god.
I forgot, because I'm not gonna lie.
Wentz and Dez.
I did look this up.
Dez was the other guy. Dez was the.
Who the hell's Trey?
That might have been like one of their like last names where they have it full, because like Wentz and Dez was like short form for like their full names on the independent circuit, whatever. Anyway.
Oh no, Trey is a former member. Trey Miguel.
Okay.
Trey Miguel, he's still signed with TNA. So the third member of MSK or Impact, the third member of MSK is still signed with Impact.
It's crazy that Impact let these guys go, to be honest. But they did, and NXT signed them up. And NXT wants to really feature these guys as a premier tag team, and you can tell. So they came in.
I was surprised that they're pushing them this much, this quick. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I knew that they were leaving Impact. Like, they're having a big goodbye, like, in TNA or Impact, and I'm like, who are these tag team like people? And then like, they're going to NXT. I bet they're gonna take a while to like get something, remarkably like well done. And no, they're already like winning the Dusty Cup, and I'm like, oh shit. They're really pushing these guys. They're being the grizzled young veterans and all that. So
they debuted in the opening round. They won every single match and looked pretty good. Leads to this finals with the grizzled young veterans. And they had a high-flying showcase. There was a lot of stuff in this match. The dives that Lee was hitting, the big tope over the top rope where he took out both guys and charged head over, charged a big thing of steam and then jumped to like pretty much clear over the top rope and did like a front senton onto both guys and was fucking pumping. Like, he was going fast, man.
Yeah, I saw him do a spiral tap that AJ used to do. Holy shit! A spiral tap. What?
So it was just all the stuff that they were doing was just crazy stuff. There was tons of dives and moonsaults, and like the grizzled young veterans were kind of, what was good about it was that this time the psychology made sense, right? So they would get their offense in, and then either Gibson or Drake would do something to cut one of them off and really do the heel beatdown thing. When Carter finally got the long awaited, because they beat on Nash Carter for a while, they really worked him over for a prolonged period in this match, and you could just see Wesley waiting on the apron. He wants that tag. He wants to fly around that ring, but he's got to wait for that hot tag. Eventually, Nash Carter is able to escape both veterans, both members of Grizzled Young, and he tags in Wesley for probably like I thought Raquel Gonzalez had a fucking fantastic hot tag, but Wesley's hot tag was even more amazing. He was flying all over the place, just taking out both guys. His offense is... And you know what? With all the stuff they were doing, like, I'm surprised nothing really got fucked up. They were taking a lot of, like, high risk. Like, I know they know it was Takeover, and this is their big moment, and they're winning the Dusty Cup. But, like, this offense was, like, to say a little dangerous was an understatement. There was a point, and this wasn't even... I guess it was up to Wesley to take this bump. But at one point in this match, they kind of isolated Wesley, and... they hoisted, I think it was Gibson hoisted him on his shoulders, and Drake came off the apron with a Doomsday device, and Wesley took the craziest fucking fall and coil up on your neck bump on the floor that I've ever seen. Somehow he didn't die. Somehow. I don't know how he didn't die, but he survived it. And that was kind of how they beat on him for a while. And then, of course, both guys end up getting tagged in.
He was out of the match for a while after that Doomsday device.
Yeah, like they really worked him over for sure. And then eventually they come to the point where he tags in Carter, and they come back and they isolate Drake, I believe, or did they isolate Gibson? Because shortly after they isolate one member of JYV, they ended up pretty much right out of nowhere hitting their actual double team finish, which is like a Doomsday Heart Attack blockbuster of sorts is what I would call it. It's like,
yeah, that's you're not wrong at all. That's
I don't know what they call it, like. But it's their double team finish. They've been using it on NXT to win, and I knew when they hit it on one of the veterans it was over, because every time they've hit that double team move, it's won them a match in this tournament. So when I knew, and I didn't think Grizzled Young Veterans were winning this, Burch and Lorcan are the heel tag champs, and MSK is clearly being positioned as a top babyface team, so I knew they were winning. And so they pin. I'm pretty sure it was it? I'm pretty sure it was Gibson that they pinned in the end. They isolated Drake and pinned Gibson after the double team finish.
I think it was Gibson.
Yeah, so they pin him. They win the Dusty Cup. They have this big, massive celebration. They're next in line for Burch and Lorcan's NXT Tag Team titles, and mark my words, I think on their first shot, they're going to win the belts. I think they're getting the rocket strapped. I think they're getting the rocket strapped right to the tag titles. I think they're going to win in their probably the first shot. Whether they save that for the next takeover in the spring or they do it on television, mark my words, MSK will defeat Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan sooner rather than later.
Now, how do you feel about them? You know, you like them in the ring and all that, and they are pretty good. It's just, how do you feel about them character or mic wise?
Well, I think they've got good charisma in terms of body language and how they come out.
Yeah.
Their entrance looks really nice, and I think, you know, should they do more promos, I think they've got a natural swagger about them. I think that's something that will develop better with time and once they get more opportunities. It's really kind of too early to say, but I really do like what I see so far from them. I think they have a lot of potential, from my point of view. Why are you kind of unsure about them on the charisma department, or what's the reason for the questioning. Seems like you have some uncertainties about them as a team. What would those be?
They're charismatic for sure. Like, I agree with the body language, and of course their in-ring work is phenomenal. It's just, me personally, their mic skills are just. It reminds me of like, I don't know, a regular like tag team on AEW Dark. Those like indie guys that they're trying to get used to the big TV. Camera shots and everything, fresh off the indies, and yeah, that's how I feel about their mic skills. But I think over time they'll be better. I felt the same way with Street Profits, but obviously they've got it down lock, especially with Montez. Even who's the other guy? Goddamn.
Talking about for the Street Profits? Oh, Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah, Angelo Dawkins. Yeah, he's even doing better on the mic too. So I agree with the over time they'll get better on the mic. But I'm just so surprised that they're really strapping the rocket to them now, and for sure if they win the belts, if you predict that right. So
I think they will win the titles. I think they're going to win their first shot, and I think it's because like Triple H knows he needs to kind of buff that tag team division. NXT's tag team division has taken a bit of a downturn in the last couple years, and I think he wants to kind of revive it, and this is a big signing, and maybe by pushing them like this, he can maybe think that that'll convince other potential top tag teams on the independent circuit to sign with NXT.
Oh, I never looked at it like that, so that's definitely interesting, yeah.
So, just a theory, I'm not speaking anything. I don't know what Hunter's thinking, or Paul, but I'm just spitballing some ideas here for why he might be pushing them so hard and trying to rebuild the division that was seen as, really, really great for the industry, and then got surpassed by the women's division, and now AEW is talked about as like the best North American tag division in terms of televised wrestling anyway.
Is there a tag team you'd like to see? That's I
don't even know any right now. Like who isn't there yet.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Would you like to see an NXT?
I don't even know who is a big team that'd be a free agent that's not working for somebody right now. Is the better question.
That is a better question.
Who actually is a free agent tag team, or is going to be having their contract expiring with whatever promotion they're working for? A lot of them are going to probably be. It's probably going to be hard for NXT to sign tag teams over AEW, man. I'm actually surprised MSK signed with them. That's the thing. A lot of teams are going to AEW because they just see the quality of it and they want to be a part of that. And it's going to be hard for NXT to sign tag teams going forward, I think. And I
got one. What's it called? Motor City. If they're ever done with Impact. But right now they're kind of having some AEW feuds.
All their friends are in All Elite. You think they're really going to go to NXT over AEW? All their friends.
I mean, I would like to see them NXT. Ever since Alex Shelley debuted with the Kushida, I'm like, oh snap! Bringing Chris Sabin, I would love to see that in NXT.
I grew up with the Motor City Machine Guns in TNA, so I would love to see them anywhere on a big time television show, whether it be Dynamite or NXT. I'd like to see them anywhere. That's kind of like a big deal. Like I don't want to shit on Impact, okay? Like I don't want to, or any promotion like that. But like AEW and WWE are kind of the promotions with the big money and the most exposure, and you want to see guys like that on that type of stage. No discredit to any of the smaller promotions, but you kind of get what I mean.
There's a name that hasn't hit the big times yet, and that's the Briscoe brothers. I haven't seen them on any television other than ROH. So them on NXT. I wouldn't mind with them winning the belts day one. That makes the most sense.
I could see. I don't know. Do you think the Briscoes would consider NXT?
Oh, they've been ROH strong for like basically 2 decades.
Forever. So, Jay even got his singles run. He even was world champion for a while.
Too. Yeah. So it's just amazing how they haven't signed with any big wrestling company yet, and they're known as one of the best tag teams.
Yeah. So think about that. That just shows their talent. So they have been known as a top tag team on the independent circuit for 20 years despite never performing for a major league promotion. Just think about that for a second. Yeah, I would like to see the Briscoes on a big stage, but we'll see. I mean, they are getting older.
They are getting really old. Like, it's... their beards are getting almost fully grayed out, so...
So, I mean, you can still be an old badass, but, wrestling, I like to... Unless it's main roster. But for stuff like AEW and NXT, it's a young man's game, man. Like, I mean, if it's main roster stuff, then you can bring back fucking 50-year-old Goldberg or whoever the fuck and just keep doing that. But
good thing we didn't review Royal Rumble. I would have went off on that title match.
Yeah, Drew won in the end and quick, so I fucking had, and I was just like, whatever, right? Like, if Goldberg would have won the belt, then that's fucking something, but he didn't, so I had largely no issue with it. They got it out of the way right at the beginning of that show, and it was what it was. I know, we're all
that review was just as quick as that match.
It was actually. Except I didn't go into a dasher board for a fucking split second before doing that little review, so... Anyway, we shall move on. Afterwards, we got the best rap video ever in NXT history. Perhaps my favorite act and gimmick in all of NXT right now is the $1 Million Grimes, baby, to the moon. So, basically, the story goes, and I don't know if it's true, but this is hearsay, at least in character, Cameron Grimes bought GameStop shares that he found on Reddit and invested in GameStop in the stuff that went on not too long ago. There was like some wacky investment stuff where a bunch of people were putting in shares and getting tons of money off of some rich billionaires and all this stuff. It was this big stonks situation. And Cameron Grimes, and it was, I don't know if he actually did it in real life, but his character for sure invested in these GameStop shares. And now he's apparently loaded. Got a ton of money for he bought cheap stocks and sold them for top dollar. So
I'm not surprised because if he did, because I know a couple of friends who did, join in that GameStop AMC shenanigans and made a couple dollars off of it.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't be surprised if he
actually did it in real life. Again, the jury's out on that. He might have, he might not have, but at least in character, that's what they're doing. That's how they're portraying him. And
according to the Observer, he's made big top dollar, or he's the most like.
I've heard the joke that they're saying that he's the richest guy in NXT.
Yeah, the richest NXT. Yeah, that's what I've heard from the Observer. So it's
and I trust the Observer. They've been credited for like fucking 40 years. I mean, I like to follow the news from them. There's a reason I like to go over the awards for them every year. It's like the big deal for like at least the internet wrestling community. Those are the awards that matter. And those are the people that, are pretty credible and have been journalists in the industry for a fucking very long time. But they're saying so I'll believe that. I guess he did it. But it's translating to a great character, because before he got hurt, I thought Cameron Grimes was hitting a stride with the To the Moon stuff and saying that, just his promo cutting, his character was really developing nice. His hat fetish there for a while was fucking hilarious. He just found new ways to kind of find a way to get over when they started giving him more mic time. And then on Wednesday, the go-home show to Takeover, he's talking about how he's got these AMC shares. He figured out about these video games. He invested in these video games, and now he's rich. Kiss my
grits.
Kiss my grits is what he was saying, and then that was the name of the rap song, in which it's Cameron Grimes by poolside, swimming in fucking money.
I wouldn't be
celebrating with cash.
Bills. Like
it was brilliant.
Yeah.
He cut the best promo on the Wednesday before this, and then this rap. I just can't wait to see where this goes. Like, I hope this just goes. I don't know where they're gonna go with it, but it's gold. I hope he keeps getting promo time. I hope he keeps talking about how rich he is, because this is awesome. This is a great gimmick. I thought he was already getting there before getting rich from Reddit.
Oh yeah,
but
that's
now
exactly the same thought. I'm like, no way. He really just like multiplied. No, it's not even multiply. He like exponentially grew from this gimmick.
In like one promo, his return promo, and then this rap video. I'm so excited to see where it goes for him. I hope he ends up winning a championship. I think him.
I definitely said in our group chat, like, he's definitely gonna win the NA North American belt. Like,
I hope so.
Year.
I hope so. At some point, he deserves it. I thought he should have won it last year, but now he really should win something.
He's gonna get something. I guarantee it. I guarantee my stocks on GameStop.
So,
to the moon.
I just think this is great. I cannot wait to see his promos going forward and who they. I guess he's cleared now. I mean, I guess they wouldn't have, unless he's not cleared, and they're just gonna have him talk for a while, and he's still hurt.
Well, but who would he feud with?
It's
right
a good point.
He's definitely not gonna go for Gargano.
No, because it's heel versus heel, so that's not gonna happen. So
he's gonna have some side thing going on.
And not to mention, he just got off a feud with Dexter Lumis. We've seen that.
Yeah, we've already seen that, and I wasn't a big fan of.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but like at the same time,
Grimes made it work.
Yeah, yeah. He made it work, and I mean, I didn't think I'd enjoy a fucking strap match with Dexter Lumis, and I actually thought Grimes worked that match pretty good and made it fucking more than watchable. It was not nearly as bad as I expected. I would say that strap match exceeded my expectations. So maybe just he'll do some promos and just develop his character, and eventually at some point, maybe he'll get reinserted into the North American title picture once a babyface takes it off Johnny. I mean, we'll have to see where it goes. I guess we'll find out on Wednesday. But I'm loving this gimmick so far, and we're only 1 week into it. So, not even a full week, because with this Wednesday would be a full week. So
yeah, it hasn't been a week. Yeah, you're right. And I'm just wondering who he could feud with, because he's definitely he has to have someone soon, because he can't just rely off of this character, and it's not even been a week yet. So
yeah,
we'll see.
So that was that, and I look forward to $1 Million Grimes going forward, the Reddit millionaire, richest man in all of NXT. The new $1 Million Man, I guess. There's always that generation's version of the $1 Million Man since Ted DiBiase. So in the 2020s, it'll be Cameron Grimes, the man who got rich from Reddit. Perfect. So contemporary. Just like Sami Zayn being an SJW. That's also very contemporary. So, great heel gimmicks. Anyway, so then after that, we got the penultimate, the second to last match of the show. It's usually always the NXT Women's Championship match. I don't know why I thought maybe the MSK match was going to be here. I thought they would have given more space between the two finals. But
no,
usually
they
always reserve it. The second to last is always the women's match. I should know this by now. How many of these predictions and reviews and even shows that I was watching beforehand, before I even started doing this podcast, that I've seen where the women's match is second to last?
Now, Brayden, the only time they haven't done that was for, I think, the Johnny Gargano and Tommaso street fight, because I believe before that match, because they were the main event when there was no title on the line.
They were the main event for 3 straight, and there was 2 of them where there was no championship. It was just the feud itself was the main event.
Yeah. I remember Alistair, and I forgot who he defended against.
Oh god, yeah, he defended against Lars Sullivan on Chicago. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was when that was the first time the penultimate was not.
Yeah, I seem to recall that Shayna was champion, and she defended against Nikki Cross in the middle of the show.
Yeah, that's
on that takeover. That's almost 3 years ago. That's crazy. It's been that long. But anyway, okay. In the peak of the Gargano Ciampa stuff, and then Aleister Black kind of being NXT champion. Poor Aleister, eh? What a time to be champion is when there's a feud going on that's bigger than your title win and reign, and then you end up getting sacrificed to make that rivalry mean more. Bad times for Aleister. And then he goes to the main roster.
What's he doing in the main roster?
Nothing. He hasn't even been on television. I think they took him off. I don't know what's going on there, to be honest.
At least he hasn't been booked weak. He's been booked very strong.
I don't know. They turn him. They book him to kill a couple people. Then they take him off television for months, and then he reappears for fucking 6 months later, and it's the same stuff. And then he's heel. I don't know. I don't like anything.
Is this Lena Vega stuff?
It might be because after she got released and all that, he hasn't been seen. So maybe he's not coming in protest. I don't know what's going on with him. He hasn't been on television in months.
She was released because she believed in what's it called, union, right?
Yeah, or the other platforms that they should be able to use Twitch and this and that WWE shouldn't be telling them not to make extra side money. That it shouldn't be them to be doing that. Which he's got a point, but I mean it's an uphill battle trying to do that against the WWE. And again, Aleister Black hasn't been seen since then, so I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he's almost going to be released or something. What a shame, too, because he had tons of potential.
Pop, I bet.
He had tons of potential. But anyway, we're not going to distract too much from that. We're going to get back to this here TakeOver show. Women's title, triple threat. It was, in fact, the style of match in which Io Shirai first won the NXT Women's Championship in a triple threat match where the Women's Championship match actually main evented a TakeOver in your house back in June of last year. Io won the title. And she's been reigning champion ever since. She's gotten a long reign. She's been champion for many months now. And is at least probably going to be champion for a few months more. So in this match, to build up to it, they actually kind of had, I guess Io and Toni have a few confrontations. But then Mercedes Martinez attacked Io from behind when Io was calling out Toni Storm and kind of beat her up. So I thought, okay, so maybe they're going with Io and Mercedes. But then they had Toni kind of get involved because they had Toni and Mercedes Martinez as a team in the Women's Dusty Cup. And due to Io Shirai interfering and attacking Mercedes Martinez, Toni and Mercedes ended up losing to Casey, I don't care about pandemics, Catanzaro, and Caden. I joke. I shouldn't highlight that too much, but it's been a firestorm on Twitter because of those pictures that we're seeing. And Caden Carter, and they beat Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez because of Io Shirai attacking Martinez. So it turned into this big three-way rivalry that's, each woman's kind of beating up the other in the lead up to the show. So they all come out. I would like to hear. I need Gabe to talk about how much he hates Mercedes theme music. You mentioned it in the chat, so
it was
I think
what guns being copped or whatever. I'm like, this does not sound like anything badass. Like silence would
farthest thing from it, right? Like farthest thing from it. Not tough.
Her last, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, her last theme, the little Hispanic beat she had with the MLG horn,
much better,
I thought that was
right?
Okay. It was much better for sure, but I thought it was okay for her. So I'm like, I can't wait for the
okay. But here's the thing: which one would you
rather
have, the drum beats
exactly.
or what was on last night, right? So she comes out, looks tougher than her entrance music sounds. I'll give her that much. She does look mean and fucking tough and like a grizzled veteran. She does give off that the years of experience and I'm tough as fuck vibe. Just with her facial expressions, I think she's got those down pat. Then Toni Storm comes out, and it's odd seeing her as a heel. I don't know. Maybe she can pull it off, but she's been a babyface forever on NXT UK, and then she comes over to regular NXT, and then they immediately turn her. I don't know. I guess we'll see where it goes. But there's a built-in story between Toni and Io, because if you can remember, when Toni and Io kind of really got brought in to WWE, it was in the 2018 Mae Young Classic, and they actually made it to the finals of the Mae Young Classic, did Toni Storm and Io Shirai. And it was Toni Storm who pinned Io Shirai to win the 2018 Mae Young Classic at the Evolution pay-per-view. Remember that women's only pay-per-view almost 3 years ago? It'll be 3 years ago this fall. So there's a background between the two of them. And Tony's brought this up. I pinned you to win the Mae Young Classic. I'm going to pin you again. I'm better than you. I can win this title. And that was a part of it. But I found that Io and Toni in this match didn't really have a whole lot of action against one another.
No,
it was like Mercedes against one of them at a time, it seemed. It was like Mercedes Martinez worked with Toni for a while. Then Toni would get taken out, and then Io would get in there, and it was Mercedes and Toni. And it was Mercedes and Io for a while, and it was kind of going like that. I didn't find that Toni Storm and Io Shirai really had all that much interaction in this match, and I can only assume that it's done for a reason of maybe getting another singles match out of this rivalry, since they didn't really touch. I didn't find they got all that physical too much. I mean, they had a couple spots together, but I found it was primarily Mercedes Martinez kind of working two singles matches intermittently with both of them, and kind of all tying it together to the end. What was there was crisp, like when Mercedes did that big hanging superplex where she hangs on to the top rope and she kind of sits up, but before she can do so, Io Shirai is already positioned there and gives her the old double foot stomp from the Tree of Woe. That was a good looking move there. Somehow all the women end up on the outside, and Mercedes is getting beat on by Toni Storm, and Toni Storm turns and just glances at a table. I think her pinky nail might have touched the table, and it just broke. Like, what? What?
Oh God!
Like, huh? She barely touched it. Like there was no force. It wasn't like she slammed her hand on it. It wasn't like she kicked it. She just kind of like glanced past it, and like maybe her skin touched it, and the table just broke. It looked like, I guess, she was going to try and put Mercedes Martinez through the table. Maybe. I don't know, because we'll never know, because the table just fucking imploded from nothing. But they ended up just kind of calling an audible where, Toni and Mercedes fight for a bit, and Io Shirai climbs up to this big piece of equipment that's kind of hanging above, the ringside area, and does this beautiful crossbody off the top, takes out both girls. Inside the ring, once again, we get to that singles match thing where Mercedes ends up... what is her finishing move again? I know she hit it on Toni for a close fall, but I can't...
Mercedes?
Yeah.
She hits a Fisherman Buster.
Yeah, okay, it's the Fisherman Buster, that's right. So Mercedes and Toni get in the ring. She ends up hitting the Fisherman's Buster. Toni kicks out. Mercedes is shocked. They fight a bit more, and then, of course, since Toni's got to get her shit in, She hits in Storm Zero, which I hear you're not a fan of that finishing move. You find it looks a little weak, is I think
it looks weak because like the rotation and height is very low profile. Like you see Tyler Bate, he tries his best to really elevate them so high. Just do a regular power bomb if you're gonna just slam them on their back.
I don't know. I think it looks cool. I think
it looks cool. It's I'm not gonna lie. I've definitely.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I actually don't mind the move. So
it's just a very weak looking move in my opinion. Like they're just doing a front flip, really low profile, not even above mid height of their opponent. So it's very small impact move. Yet it's a cool rotation, I guess, but it just doesn't look like it's the one that ended.
So then I think Mercedes ends up kicking out of that. They do some more stuff, and there comes a point where both ladies, I forget what happened near the finish, but they're both kind of out. It looked like Toni was going for another pin. I don't know. I can't remember if she hit Storm Zero again.
She did a flying headbutt.
She hit the... Yes, that's right. So Toni ends up taking Mercedes Martinez out, because I remember it's split between two singles matches here. Even though it was mainly Toni Storm versus Mercedes Martinez. Io Shirai did her big dive and all that, and the big foot stomp. But I found like the action from Io was quite reserved compared to, say, her other title defenses. And maybe that was just me. Maybe they're saving her for some stuff and don't want it. But even then, she did some pretty high-risk stuff. But I found it was mainly Martinez and Toni doing shit in there. But yes, Toni Storm does, in fact, hit a big diving headbutt onto Mercedes Martinez. Goes for the pin, and just like a takeover in your house, Io Shirai does the big moonsault on both of them. Toni sells it, rolls out of the way. Io pins Martinez like I thought would happen. And it saves Toni from getting pinned because, as I can say, I could only assume that this is going further. I don't think it's making it to the next takeover, but they might do another match or two on television because I think I am of the opinion. Brandon Moyes said it was a bold prediction, but I say that Raquel Gonzalez will be Io Shirai's next one-on-one takeover opponent, and when that match happens, she's dropping the belt to Raquel.
Now, how would that affect Dakota Kai, though? Do you think
she'll
be split from her already, or do you think...
I don't know. Maybe they do a jealousy angle where she's friends with her for a while, and they do something like that. I don't know what you do with Dakota Kai. I really don't. But if
Dakota Kai has been chasing that belt,
forever,
if not longer,
forever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely going to affect her character-wise emotionally. Like, oh, my enforcer is going to go for the belt and not me, so... It's definitely going to cause something in their acquaintance.
It will, and I guess that'd be up to the NXT creative team to figure that out as we go along. But do you think my prediction is bold? Do you see it? Do you think it's as bold as Brandon Moyes thinks it's happening? Do you think it's more Toni Storm is going to take the belt off Io? Where do you think the women's championship situation goes?
I don't know who's gonna drop it because Io, for the longest time, has been that dominant, NXT champion.
I think she's been champion for like over 9 months now. It's crazy.
Yeah, about because I think she won in June, correct?
Yeah, beginning of June 7th was when she won the title.
So it's just very. I really don't know who could take it off of her because I'm not gonna lie, the women in NXT are strong, but they're not Io Shirai strong. Yeah, she's been. I'm a big fan of Joshi Wrestling, so I've known what she's been going through.
But not only that, but I think like among Joshi, she may be one of the most elite of them in general in the whole world. Like even if we're gonna count her Japanese counterparts, I think Io, at least in terms of, I think she's in contention for like one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, for sure.
Because I remember in Lucha Underground when she represented some like Japanese characters. She was the head of that, those Japanese characters. I think it was her, Kairi Sane, and Mayu Iwatani with their leader. I forgot her name. Black Lotus was the leader, but everyone knew like, oh, Io Shirai was the deadliest one. I don't know what her wrestling name or her Lucha Underground name was, but in storyline, she was booked as the deadliest assassin that Black Lotus has for Pentagon Jr. So yeah, I do agree with you that Io is definitely the elite of Joshi. So I really don't know who could take it off of her with the women division just being subpar in my opinion. So it's there has to be I think Raquel could definitely take it off of her. It's just I don't know when that would be.
That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it.
So when do you think that would happen?
next takeover, whether it happened at the end of April or in May or in June, whenever they decide to book it for Q2. I say it happens there. Yeah.
I think that might be too soon. Maybe if they do happen to have it, I think Io could retain because Dakota might have some interference, and so
I don't know. I'm pretty confident.
Maybe Raquel could take it off around.
Because by that point, Io will have had the belt for like 10, 11 months. It's almost a year. She's had her run. It's been a great run, but you got to drop it to somebody.
Now, what do you think she would be after she drops it?
Well, obviously she'd probably get a rematch, stay in the title picture for a little bit as a challenger. It usually happens. I'd say she gets a rematch out of the ordeal. She ain't gonna leave the title picture immediately.
Do you think she'll get called up?
It's potential. It's potential. And if she gets lucky like Asuka, maybe they'll actually do something with her. She's actually. I find that sometimes the female talent from NXT they actually do something with. It's the males that seem to have more of an issue at times. So I'm more confident in Io getting called up than say Gargano or any of the Undisputed Era or anybody like that. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm sticking with it until I'm proven wrong and Toni Storm ends up taking the fucking belt from Io Shirai instead. But I'm still sticking with it.
Yeah, I think Toni could take it too, but I don't think right now.
I don't think it's Toni's time yet, to be honest. I don't think
it's not Toni time, guys.
Not yet. Not yet. One of my favorite memes, by the way, since you brought that up, was I posted it on Twitter, and it was Sasha Banks and Toni.
Oh yeah, I remember
and
that.
What time is it? And I think one of the people who responded to me just went no. That was all they said. I was just like, okay, a little too punny, I suppose. Just too much dad joke humor. I got you, fam. I got you. But I thought it was funny. It was I remember that I posted that back in the fall on Twitter. It was a while ago, but it was funny. But yes, it is not Toni time yet. I don't think. But we'll see. As I could be wrong, and Toni does end up eventually taking the championship from Io Shirai. Because I think Triple H is high on Toni Storm. I think he's just going to bring her from NXT UK to NXT to do nothing. They had her turn to, I guess, make her stand out, even though there's a million heels in the
I think they're just experimenting, because they already knew how great of a babyface Toni Storm was after the first Mae Classic, because she was the hottest thing from that tournament. She lost, and what's her name? Kyrie won and all, but everyone was talking about Toni Storm.
And then she ended up winning the next one.
Yeah, she's just that over with the audience, and even the boys in the back or girls in the back.
I think she's got a great presence. I think she's got great charisma. I think she has a lot of potential. And she's got a lot of talent.
It's just that this heel turn is just very odd, and I think they're just trying to experiment.
It's stacked with heels.
What she can do.
It's stacked with heels, so I question why they would turn her when she's such a naturally charismatic, likable
She is a
wrestler.
natural babyface.
So it's just weird, unless they do a thing with Finn where they just kind of eventually go, maybe we'll make her tweener,
I don't think that's going to happen with Toni.
No? You think they're just going to revert her?
I think they're going to turn her again because she's that babyface is very strong.
Yeah, and they got a million bad women in NXT. There's a million, Candice is a heel, Indy Hartwell's a heel, Dakota Kai is a heel, Raquel is a heel. All the top women are practically
the top
heels.
face right now is Shotzi in NXT.
Or Io.
Excluding Io.
So. Excluding the champ, then yeah, Shotzi.
Yeah.
Because I think Shotzi's positioned better than Ember Moon.
Of course, that's what I would have said. Ember, but
now Shotzi's positioned way better.
Yeah,
they use her significantly better, and you know what? It's something. I mean, maybe they're gonna do a tag team deal with them for a while, but we'll see where it goes. I mean, again, I think there's a lot more heels than there are baby faces, so I didn't think it was necessary to turn Toni, but we'll see what they do with her going in the future. Anyway, my final sum up for this match was it was short. It was the shortest match of the show, which caught me by surprise, to be honest. But then I'm like, it's because the main event guys are probably going to need their fucking extra bit of time. So they looked at the card and decided, well, we're just going to shave some time off the women's title match, which is odd because they actually gave the women's final more time. But I guess it's because it was the first of its kind, so they felt like they had to give it a little more time because it's more of a thing. Like the NXT women's title has been defended many times at a takeover. There's only
one. A triple threat too.
Yeah. But there's only one first Dusty Women's Classic, right? There's only one first of that kind. You can only have a first of those one time. So they decided to give more time to the opener. So this match, by virtue, had to get its time cut. Man, it did. But I thought The action from all three ladies was crisp. I didn't think, other than the table fucking breaking from Toni's pinky, nothing got fucked up, and they recouped fine. They just kind of brawled, and instead of Toni putting Mercedes through the table, they just kind of brawled until Io did her big crossbody, and I don't think it destroyed the flow of the match all that bad, and I thought they worked really, really hard in there, and I thought it was very good. Again, I wouldn't call it a great match like the opener. It was very good, but it wasn't anything great. But this was, on shows that have a few great matches and a few good ones, you just got to admit that the good ones are not as good as the great ones, and it didn't have the time to be great. But it was still very good for what it was. What are your final thoughts on the actual match quality itself, Gabe?
I think that, it was short, and like you said, they want to shine the Dusty one more because it's the first and all. So I'm not gonna lie, I told everyone Io's definitely gonna win it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was pretty quick because challengers to Io that doesn't seem that big, especially triple threat, just ends up being a quick match. Like I remember what match was it? I don't remember. There was another match. It was just really quick for Io. And other triple threat matches with Asuka too. I might be getting those confused, but it just ended quick.
Which is weird that the multi-man match would end quick.
Yeah, it is weird.
With a person to break up the fall at all times, but she hit both of them, I suppose, with the finish. So
I'm a big fan of triple threat matches, but they've never been, what I wanted to be ever since the whole TNA 5-star with Samoa Joe, AJ, and
I'm trying to remember
Daniels.
The last real amazing triple threat match I can remember off the top of my head is Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena from Royal Rumble.
Oh yes, that was a great triple threat. Yeah.
That was the best one that I remember from recent memory. That's the only one that I would call a fantastic match of the year style triple threat match, but ever since then I haven't seen one that's been that good since. So you have to go back a while. There have been great ones and amazing ones, but you got to go way back. There hasn't been a triple threat that's been of that quality in many, many years. We're talking like
because
6.
Sadly triple threats these days are just being used to save someone from being pinned or
so somebody could be a fall person. Okay, we don't want the champion to pin this challenger who we care about, so we'll put this person in so they can take the fall. It's kind of lazy booking, but fuck, it happens, right? They do it. So I mean that's why Mercedes Martinez was in this match. I mean, I hate to say it, but she was there to take a pin because they didn't want to have Io Shirai pin Toni. So
what's funny is that speaking of the Mae Young Classic from earlier, Mercedes was also the most dominant wrestler in the first one, and they even brought her back in the second one. So it's just interesting that she signed for NXT, and she's not really being booked as strong.
No, but I will give her this. Do you want her to just be like a filler contender a couple times on takeovers, or be in Retribution? What's the choice?
I feel like she was only there for a little bit. I don't think she was always going to be part of
How are the members of Retribution doing in the modern day if you were to look at them, though, Gabe?
We're not talking about Retribution. We're talking about Mercedes and
But
NXT.
she was there. She was originally called up to be a part of that group.
People were in Retribution, Brain, like 70 people. Now it's only, 5? So
there's 4.
Yeah.
5 with Ali. 5 with Ali.
5 with Ali, yeah, but 4 from NXT, right? So
yeah, Dijak, Mia Yim, Shane Thorne, and
the commentator.
Yeah, Dio Madden.
Dio Madden, yeah. So I'm just saying, everyone is part of Retribution. So I'm just saying, Mercedes, they should have just booked her, kind of like Shayna, the next Shayna Baszler, I guess, because she was very dominant in both, tournaments. So now I think it's because she was working with AEW. That's what I think, because they made her look really strong in that women's battle royale, the card one, whatever they call it, their little gimmick, she was a joke.
The casino battle royale.
Casino, yeah, because usually the Joker is the next big thing in AEW. So, sadly, she didn't sign with AEW, so now I feel like NXT is just since you were with AEW, we gotta work you through this shit for now. So that's my theory. So yeah.
Yeah, it was what it was, and again, I don't think it was a bad match. It was still very good. The action was
Great match.
it was very good. Like the action was solid and crisp, and the ladies worked hard. It didn't get a whole lot of time. That's all.
Yeah, it needed more time to really bloom into something bigger because, like you said, it was like 2 single matches. So
Yeah, as I said, it was Mercedes working with Toni, and then when Toni was taken out, it was Mercedes working with Io. Then Io would get taken out, and it kind of flip flop back and forth. It didn't really have too many triple threat spots aside from the finish and Io jumping on both of them.
I personally think this is my least favorite match, to be honest. Like it's like
a lot of people had that opinion. Again, I liked it marginally better than the opener because the psychology of the opener bugged me, whereas nothing in the psychology in this match annoyed me at all. If you kind of get what I mean, like the heels working babyface, like that shit, fucking, it's a pet peeve of mine, right? Like when the heels are working like a babyface and you're purposely structuring out the match that way, and you're gonna throw in canned booze. I'm not going to like that. I'm not going to like that. So that's what took that match. Now, had the psychology been normal and it was worked in a way in which Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez deserved the canned heat that they were fucking putting in the match, then maybe I'd have liked it more. But just on psychology basis alone, I like this a little better. But we're talking a quarter star here, my dude.
Yeah, of course.
It was still the second weakest match of the night for me. The weakest for you, definitely second weakest for me. Again, I wouldn't call it great. Gargano Kushida, fucking excellent. Amazingly great. The tag finals, another fucking great match. The main event, as we're going to talk about, another fucking great match. But the two women's matches were very good. It happens on shows like this with all this talent. Sometimes matches are going to be great. Sometimes they're just going to be good. In this work rate era, that's going to happen. We should be thankful that the least we're giving to a fucking match on a show is 3.5 stars. There was a time where matches were filled with average fucking 2-star bouts throughout the undercard, and you had to wait to the fucking main event to get something great. Now we get shows with all this athletic talent that produces matches that, that blow the hair back no matter what. So we are in a very privileged time with the amount of quality workers in the business today, when we can call the weakest match of a show 3.5. Just my personal opinion. So
that's true, dude. That's no opinion.
So that's just that. So we're going to get on to the main event, which was... I was really looking forward to this match, just on the basis of who was in it. So Pete, they get the big takeover, dun 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 dun, big entrance, and you see Pete Dunne walk from the back. He gets his entrance music. He walks out. They do the same thing for the challenger, Finn Balor. They do the dramatic drum beat thing until it gets to Finn's entrance. He comes out. I love when these two have a stare down. They did it on the Go Home show to NXT this week. They just kind of stared at each other and did their poses. Just badass as fuck. And then they do it again at the beginning of this match. And then they go right into working with each other. And this match was interesting. Unlike Gargano and Kushida, which started very, very fast and just at a sprint pace, this match started very, very slow. And that's not a knock, because it was a continuous story. It was Finn getting his digits attacked and his arm mangled by Pete through much of it. And he was getting out-grappled. Every time Finn would try something, Pete had a counter for it and would cut him off and just torture this guy. Like, we're talking even more methodical than Randy Orton here. Okay? Like, we're talking... Orton kind of has that plodding pace where he, like, just, does the stomps and fucking shit like that. Whereas, like, Pete is mangling Finn Balor's arm in such a way that, yeah, it's slow and it's grappling and all that, but my God, he's bending that guy's arm in a really uncomfortable way. And this is, poor fucking champion Finn getting fucking stretched like this. You know what I mean? Like, it was done in such a way that it's like, oh, ow, that fucking really looks like it hurts. And he does this, and he keeps cutting Finn off. Anytime Finn wants to make a comeback, he just keeps going to the same arm. The arm that he'd been attacking on NXT television for the weeks leading up to this. And the ones that he'd already... Because he'd done the finger spot to Finn on television like 2 weeks prior to this match. So Finn's, nursing a bit of a hurt arm. But also, whenever Pete could get an opportunity to crack at Finn's jaw, he went for it. Calling back to Finn Balor getting his jaw broken... legitimately by Kyle O'Reilly back at TakeOver 31. And Pete, cracked him a few times. I mean, obviously he didn't really hit him there, but he took him a few shots, and he would use either the jaw or the bent arm and stretched arm to get the advantage until Finn Balor gets a slight opening and kicks the shin and like the foot of Pete Dunne in such a way that Dunne now is hurt. Finn has an opening. He just hit Pete Dunne's leg so hard that Pete now is selling like as if he's legitimately injured in such a way that I thought his selling was excellent from this point on, because now Finn had an opening and now the tables had turned. Now Finn is doing the Bret Hart style work over the leg, and he would go over it, dragon screws, kick it, go for, half crabs. He would work it over, but then they would make it interesting, because then whenever Pete would be in trouble, he would just notice, there's Balor's arm. Let me just fucking wrench it in the opposite direction and get on top and just out-grapple this guy. So that would be his way out of everything. But then when Finn would get in trouble, he would go to the leg, and there was a part where he locked in a figure four for some time until Pete got to the ropes. It was I called the Kushida Gargano match a real seesaw battle, but that was like a sprint. This was like a 90s Bret Hart title defense match from the 90s.
Old school
wrestling
match.
It was old school technical. This is like a match that Bret Hart would have laid out in like 1995. Pretty much to the extent. I don't think any sharpshooters were used, but the way it was worked was very much in that Bret Hart fashion, which I enjoy. I was a huge fan of Bret. How could I not be? He's a Canadian, might I add. But these two guys, they beat the hell out of each other. Finn starts chopping this guy in the corner. We could talk about Walter's chops, which he's a big dude, but for like a guy Finn's size, that guy fucking chops hard. Man, like, he chops hard. They look like they suck. Pete ends up, it's a struggle. They fight. And what I'm going to also bring up here now, too, just like a classic Bret Hart match, this match never left the squared circle. Not once. They stayed in the ring. I mean, maybe Finn went out to the apron to do some springboard one time, but that was it. As far as them actually touching the floor or going on the ramp, that never happened once in this match, which is refreshing to see something like that. It was very similar to Finn's match with Kyle O'Reilly, except Pete Dunne was the clear heel of this bout, and Finn Balor was the clear babyface, whereas like you had two kind of fan favorites, but Finn's kind of slightly more villainous than Kyle. Kyle's the underdog, but there's still like nobody was like the clear heel of that match, whereas in this one, Pete Dunne was clearly the heel. Pete ends up actually hitting the bitter end for a near fall, but Finn kicks out. There was a spot in the match where Finn ends up going for the coup de grace, and Pete catches him in mid-motion with a guillotine. It was a beautiful transition. I say go and watch it if you can find the clip, because that was just, that was an amazing spot. And Pete keeps this fucking submission locked in for so long, and Finn struggles so much to get to the ropes, and he does, but as he does, he passes out in the ropes. And the referee is keeping Pete Dunne from a potentially unconscious man, and you can see Pete actually getting frustrated, which of course a guy would, and then the ref ends up finally seeing that Finn's not, he's woken up, he's back, he can compete, and then, Pete goes after the arm again some more, just kind of kicks at it, stomps on it. And then that's what led to the bitter end, which Finn Balor kicked out of. They wrestle for, a bit longer. They trade submissions again and all that sort of stuff. And then it gets to a point where I forget how Finn was able... Do you remember the finish of how Finn was able to get him to the coup de grace? I kind of forget how he set that up.
I forgot, too.
Yeah.
I did... Let's see. Let me look it up.
Because there was he'd gotten Pete down. They wrestled for some more because it wasn't too long of that until the finish. I'm forgetting how he set up the coup de grace, what he did to incapacitate Balor for the coup de grace. But anyway, he does in fact incapacitate Pete Dunne long enough to hit the coup de grace properly from the top rope. No counter this time. And then Finn gets...
it was I think it was a shotgun drop kick.
Oh, yes, it was the shotgun drop kick. Yes. Yes, because there was a point where after the kick out, they fight some more. I think Finn hit. Yeah, Finn ends up hitting the reverse 1916.
Reverse 1916.
And Pete kicked out of that, and then they fought some more, and then Finn just kind of riled up and made a comeback. And he got Pete into the corner. He hit the shotgun drop kick. Pete flies into the corner, lays there. Finn sets up for the coup de grace, hits it, and Meat doesn't go for the pin. Nah, he's gonna hit that. He's gonna hit the Prince's fucking finishing move. Fuck the Demon's finishing move. He's gonna hit the Prince's finishing move, and he hits the proper 1916, the proper looking one, the elevated underhook DDT. Pins Pete Dunne. There's never in any question Finn Balor retaining the NXT title. I didn't think Pete Dunne was gonna win here. I knew it was just a takeover title defense for Finn, but my God, this match was fucking great. This is a great match. Again, I thought Gargano and Kushida was slightly better, but like it's like a quarter star difference, my guy. This is a solid, fucking fantastic main event. These Finn Balor title matches, I look forward to more.
I was about to ask you, what are these for the past year, or even let's include 2020 as well.
Yep.
What has there ever been a memorably bad match for Finn Balor? Like,
no
title or no title?
Like since he went back to NXT last fall, like in fall of 2019, since he went back, or even
let's even include that. Ever since he got back from NXT.
Or are we counting even like his first run?
No. I was thinking about like hit the takeovers. But no, now that I think about it, has there any been like bad matches he's had?
No, he had a great match with Matt Riddle at War Games when he returned. It was his first takeover. He was supposed to wrestle Johnny Gargano. Johnny got hurt, and Matt Riddle had to fill in. And I thought they had a great match. Then he had an even better match when he finally did face Johnny Gargano at Takeover Portland.
One of my favorite matches last year.
It was great. It was a fucking great match. He had a very good bout with Damian Priest that's a little underrated in your house.
I remember that one.
I thought it was the second best match of the show after the women's match. Then he had a little technical match with Timothy Thatcher at TakeOver 30 that I thought was very good as well. And then he had the fucking fantastic main event with Kyle O'Reilly, and now he's had another fucking fantastic main event with Pete Dunne. I think Finn Balor's on a roll as far as being in the ring. I think this is the best we've seen him in terms of match quality. He's on fire. He's on a different level right now. He wants
this
to bust his ass.
This is the best Finn Balor I've ever seen.
He wants to bust his ass. He wants to fucking be the guy that people talk about, the fucking champion. And he was only a champion because Cross got hurt. It's the only reason he's got the belt now, which is crazy, but he benefited from it. And we got two fantastic takeover main events out of it. I'm sure Karrion Kross is getting Finn Balor next, and I imagine that'll be unfortunately where the Prince's reign does come to an end.
That's gonna suck. Like,
it is.
He's been on fire ever since. I think the only time where he lost, it wasn't even on TakeOver. I think it was on a television where he lost to an Adam Cole. It was for the NXT title when when Cole had the belt still.
I think Timothy Thatcher.
I forgot how he
Timothy Thatcher cost him a match. I can't remember if he got pinned or not though.
It wasn't a clean finish.
No, it was because it was Velveteen Dream versus Balor, and the winner got to go to the North American title ladder match, and Thatcher cost Balor the match by interfering and knocking him off the top rope or something like that. So it was not clean.
Yeah, so.
And then when he lost to Adam Cole, it was because Johnny Gargano distracted him, and Cole hit him.
There we go. It was Johnny.
And Cole hit him with a low blow, and then hit him with the last shot to retain the NXT title. Well, that's like well over a year ago now. That's like, fucking like 14 months ago already. It's a long time.
But he's never been booked clean to
But
lose,
he's never been pinned clean since he's gone back to NXT, no. And even then, he's only had 2 dirty losses that I can remember. 2. That's it. And they were all because of interference or cheating. So, but I imagine and I think it's inevitable, I think Cross is getting him next. I could be wrong. But I think
I don't want it to. I don't want it to at all, because
I see it happening unless they're gonna fast track Cross to the main roster, but I don't see that either. And he does have a built-in story that he never lost the belt. He got hurt and had to relinquish it, and he's also never been beaten in NXT. And from the Booker's mind, you got 2 guys who are the most dominant of the entire brand going up for the main title. I can't see them not booking it. I just can't see them not booking it. From a star power and just both guys having as much momentum as they do. And we know how much Triple H loves Karrion Kross. Like, look how fast he shot him to the title in the summer. And he would have had a long reign had he not got hurt. And Finn would have never got the belt. And now that he's back, they've done a slow burn with him because they wanted to do Balor and Pete Dunne at a takeover. So they did that. But now that Finn's beaten Pete Dunne, beaten Kyle O'Reilly, and we'll talk about the post-match segment, which has more to do with Kyle O'Reilly than Finn Balor as far as where the future goes. I have to think that Karrion Kross is next. And I could be wrong in terms of Kross regaining the belt from Finn, but I think he will. And that he has a dominant monster heel run that will eventually be ended by a babyface, and I'll mention that babyface once we get to him. So
I think I know who you're going to talk about, because I have the same idea.
Yeah,
I have
know
the
who I'm
same
talk
exact
about.
idea.
So
now here's the thing, though. I really don't know what's going to happen next for Finn if he were to drop it to Karrion, because I'm not going to lie, that's also in the same I'm having that prediction as well, that Karrion is going to get it back. Another weird question, do you remember any like memorable matches that Kross has had?
Well, they've mainly had him as a character, and he's had squashes, and then he got hurt. I think it's too early to say that he can't go. You know, there's been some circumstances involved, but do I think he's at the level of athletic caliber that some of the other top NXT people have been? No. But he's much more of a character than like a match-stealing performer. He's like a dominant threat. He's not really a show stealer. He's a completely different type of character for NXT. I think, anyway. Now, again, we're used to these takeovers having show-stealing matches and all that sort of stuff, and Karrion Kross probably isn't going to be that guy. But as far as a dominant threat and an ass kicker and a fucking person going like, oh man, who's ever going to beat that fucking guy? I think he oozes that type of potential. But that's just my opinion. What do you think about him? Yeah, I don't think he's at the level of athletics that most of the top NXT people have been, but I don't think they expect him to be, and I don't think that's the role he's necessarily going to have. What do you think, though? Or do you kind of agree with that sort of sentiment?
I agree, too, because he is that character you say, and I would think he would benefit more off of the main roster, like the Eliases and the who else that made better in the main roster than NXT, because he's definitely that character that, you know, the main roster likes to make moments and characters off than, you know, work. I think the perfect
comparison is he's like NXT's Fiend. It's all about the entrance and the destruction. All about the entrance and the destruction of his opponents, right? Like, that's it. So, but I think they want to give him a run with the NXT title before he goes up to the main roster. Unless they do just call him up and Vince wants him right away, which could happen because we know Vince. But I think Hunter is dead set on putting the belt back on him. I could be wrong. And Vince calls him up and Hunter has no choice but to let Vince bring him to Raw or SmackDown. But I think Kross is going to get that belt back before he sees Raw or SmackDown. It's just a feeling I got, man. I think they're going to put it back on him. And Finn's going to be the one to do the job, unfortunately. He's going to do it. It'll be the first time he loses cleanly in NXT since his return. So
you can guarantee that we'll talk about it, you know.
Yeah, whenever they decide. I mean, there's no tentative date yet announced for the next takeover. It's definitely not going to be WrestleMania weekend because Mania is again split into 2 nights over Saturday and Sunday, unless they decide to do it on the Friday. But I don't really necessarily see that happening. Not during a fucking weekday. I know they've done it before, but I just don't see it. So it's either...
the only reason why they did that on the weekdays because AEW had their Saturday show that I believe. So that's why they had NXT Takeover Friday, and then they had the Hall of Fame
on Saturday, so they held it on a Friday night, right? But I mean, they could do that. I don't know if Triple H, but I've been noticing that takeovers have been having their own weekend. They've less been paired with main roster pay-per-views in the last couple of years. So, okay, dude, go on.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, like, I think it's because it's definitely because of pandemic now, but they have been having takeovers, you know, away from the big four.
Yeah.
So
they've been doing them
I think
on their own weekend.
They're trying to see what they could do, I guess, without the help of the big four, because AEW, in my opinion, like everything's AEW in my opinion with NXT.
Well, the fuck, they're doing their own takeovers because AEW's doing their own pay-per-views, and that's their way of competing,
of course.
right? So,
That's
That's
how I
that.
saw it.
So, I mean, I think it's going to be after WrestleMania. I don't think it's going to be WrestleMania weekend, whether it be by the end of April or in May or in June. There will be a quarter 2 takeover. I'm just not sure when it's going to happen. That I don't know. But for sure there will be one in quarter 2 because Triple H said on a conference call that they still plan to do 4 to 5 takeovers every year going forward. There's going to be a handful of them every year. He said the same amount, despite the Peacock deal, we're still going to do our usual amount. So that's usually like 4 or 5 a year. Usually one every quarter. Sometimes one quarter gets an extra, but there will be one in quarter 2. I just don't know when. So after the main event, Finn Balor goes to celebrate on the ramp, and this is the show closing angle. And Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, the NXT Tag Team Champions, jump him from behind. They beat him down on the ramp, throw him into the ring. Pete Dunne joins them. And they have a 3-on-1 beatdown of Finn Balor until the Undisputed Era's music hits and outruns Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. They clear house of the heels. Kyle helps Finn up. They have this moment of Finn kind of going like, well, these fucking guys, but, you know, Kyle, I kind of trust you. You seem like you're a good guy. You know, maybe your friends aren't so bad. And they kind of have this moment of like mutual respect and friendship. And they all start putting up the Undisputed Era sign, except for Finn, who kind of does his bullet club, double guns, finger gun sign, and the copyright symbol goes up as they all pose. And then Adam Cole lays out Finn Balor with a picture-perfect super kick. Finn is laid out. Kyle O'Reilly is fucking pissed. He's saying that this is bullshit. How could you do this, Adam? He's fucking trusting us. Why do you got to go into business for yourself? All this. And then as Kyle's kind of checking on Finn and, you know, kind of in a bit of rage himself, he turns around and what happens? Adam Cole super kicks Kyle O'Reilly's head off. And Adam Cole kind of gives a death stare to my parents' divorced face, Roderick Strong, who doesn't know what to do. And Adam Cole just kind of gives him the blank death stare and leaves. And Roddy's just like beside himself and just he doesn't know what the fuck to do. Kyle O'Reilly and Balor are laid out, and Cole just kind of stares at the ring and walks off. And his very much the beginning, at least Kyle O'Reilly's out of the Undisputed Era. I don't know what they're going to do with Roddy. Bobby Fish is hurt, so he's completely out of the picture anyway. Injured. Been injured since War Games or something like that, so he's not even in the picture. I don't know what they do with Roddy, but I think very clearly this is the beginning of a Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly feud, which will go over the spring. I guess maybe they could trade wins, and then Kyle could win in the end. And I think this is going to be done to put over Kyle O'Reilly as a sympathetic underdog babyface, and it's like one program that really builds him up, and that by the end of the year, you will see Kyle O'Reilly as a babyface singles win the NXT title by the time this year is up. I think that's where it goes, and it begins with this long-term program with Adam Cole, and they build to the inevitable O'Reilly versus Cole first match one-on-one for the spring takeover that I've mentioned a few times now. But I did not expect that ending. I didn't think they'd pull the trigger on Undisputed Era falling apart. But to be fair, they've done all they can do as a group. Like, fuck, all of them won titles together. They've been together forever on the NXT brand. What more could you do with them? I mean, they had their little babyface run as like a 4-person group, but that was only going to last so long. Adam Cole is probably the perfect heel to put Kyle O'Reilly over, considering their history in Ring of Honor and New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the perfect program for Kyle as a babyface. I mean, they have great chemistry. It's going to produce great matches. And in the end, I think Cole knows to put his friend over, and Kyle will go on to be like the conquering everyman good guy, the Daniel Bryan of NXT, who will finally win the big one by the time the year's up. But this is the one foe he's got to get over before getting back into the championship title picture. What do you think of this program going forward, Gabe? What do you think? Yeah, you could probably get a lot to say, so I'll let you have
There is so much to say, Brayden. There is so much to say.
Agree.
There's so much to, like, I feel like what I have in mind to say is going to multiply from what's going to break down from what we're going to talk. These conversations will lead to other paths to what we're going to talk about, because there's so much to say here. So, it all started with Cole super kicking Balor. Now Balor is involved somehow. Like, he's gonna have to be in this storyline, not just Cole and O'Reilly. He's gonna be in this somehow because it all started with Cole, super kicking Finn Balor. So does that mean that Cole's gonna go for the belt next? That seems like that's what's next. But then he super kicks O'Reilly, so maybe a triple threat might be in the picture. That's how
I think Finn was just a prop.
Takeover.
I think he was just a prop to set up Cole kicking Kyle, and they still have Finn do his own thing with the title.
Well,
and then it becomes primarily.
Too,
okay, what's that? Go ahead.
What a prop to do. The first shot to
well,
the
he's
NXT
the champ.
champion.
He's the
Finn
champ,
Balor,
right?
Like, so I don't think Finn Balor getting super kicked was any prop. That definitely is going to lead something with Balor. So I think it's going to be a triple threat at the least. So Finn Balor is going to be involved somehow, or maybe a tag on NXT TV, something. Finn Balor's involved in this undisputed.
I've heard
breakup.
some people say that maybe Cross could actually be going to the main roster, and they did the super kick so that Cole is the first one to challenge Balor. I've heard that could be potential. I mean, there's a lot of ways. I mean, it's either, I think for Finn, it's either going to be Karrion Kross, and then most likely, but there is the small chance that they do go with Adam Cole for another title defense for him. But then again, what does Kyle O'Reilly do over the spring takeover if he's not working with Adam Cole?
Do you remember what's it called, when I think it was I forgot what had happened. Yeah, it was Cross. He was challenging Cole when Cole was still champion before Keith Lee took it. So maybe that will have Cross, Adam Cole, and Balor in a triple threat as well. And then maybe O'Reilly could screw over Cole and then get pinned by Cross to win the belt, making Balor still look strong in a way to not get pinned. There's just so much you could do. Just this one breakup by the end of this takeover.
It was a huge angle that shakes the foundation of the NXT brand. So it's like there's a lot of things that could come of it, right? So.
Yeah, and what I like the most is that Strong, he's by himself, like you said. He wasn't behind this, super kick shenanigans that
No, Cole very clearly went into business for himself.
Yeah, that was all Cole. Like Strong didn't know this was gonna happen. Neither did Balor or O'Reilly. So Strong's in a position like, holy shit, what am I gonna do? Because Cole, he super kicked O'Reilly as well. He didn't hurt Strong at all, so that means that Cole does care about Strong in some way going forward with this breakup. So Strong is in a really peculiar position on, okay, who the hell am I going to side with? Because, he has no bone to pick with anyone in this Undisputed
Nobody has
Era.
done Roderick Strong wrong.
Yeah, nothing. Because he actually, the Undisputed Era is what made him better in NXT. So this is really putting him in the most difficult position, kayfabe. So he really doesn't know what to do next. With Cole putting himself before others, it's really, this is the best breakup I've ever seen. Because the UE was gonna break up. That was inevitable.
Well, because they were never going to the main roster as a group.
Oh, definitely no, they were not. So it's just the way they broke them up is just it's the best that I could imagine.
It's because the Adam Cole Kyle O'Reilly feud is going to be all kinds of awesome. You know it. It's going to be probably maybe the best angle in NXT all year. I could see this being Gargano Ciampa levels of greatness in terms of a feud for the brand. This is a feud that the brand needed to really do something with it.
Of course.
So I'm really excited for it personally to see where it goes.
And now it's now we're forgetting the fourth one. I know he's injured. Bobby Fish.
Yeah.
Where does that put him?
I don't know.
It
depends when he comes back, right? I mean, maybe
he's definitely going to be in this picture because he's a member. And
not only that, but he's like a long-term Kyle O'Reilly's long-time tag team partner.
Yeah, tag team partner as well.
In Red Dragon. So it's like...
Yeah, and they've shared belts with him too, like in NXT. So it's just...
He will be factored in when he's cleared. So we'll see what they do with him when he comes back.
So where do you think Bobby Fish will be in this dilemma?
I think
when he comes back.
I think I can maybe he turns and sides with Kyle. Like I can't imagine him siding with Cole. I mean, Kyle's his longtime tag team partner. I don't know. That's he's a wild card. It's like, what do they do with Roddy, right? I think he's going to be
we don't
in
even
very
know
much.
what Roddy's gonna do yet either. So
It just factors in from when he comes back and what they do with it. There's so many ways this can go, and there's so many questions and good questions that make you want to tune in. So that's good for NXT in that opinion. They've got an angle that's got me hooked, and maybe even considering watching NXT over Dynamite this week, which would be the first time in fucking forever if I chose to do that. Chose to do that decision. So A+.
I've been watching AEW a lot recently, by the way. Just want to
I have been too. I've been following it every week for the most part when I've got time to watch it on Wednesdays. It's probably the one weekly wrestling show I watch the most. And then I've actually caught SmackDown quite a bit because it's gotten pretty decent. It's fucking leagues better.
That's
than
all
Raw.
because of Roman. That's all because of Roman.
Oh, of course. I'm not giving anybody else any credit. And Kevin Owens to an extent too. I like KO, and he was in the title picture.
Book him better.
Oh yeah, they book him like shit, but he overcomes it by being so talented.
Definitely. He got ran over by a fucking cart.
Yeah, ripping off AEW. Roman? Like, or WWE?
Oh, man.
So, yeah, an A+ post-main event angle. A+ angle to end the show. And I think an actual A+ show. This takeover is comparable to all the greatest takeovers in front of a crowd. And I don't think I'm being... I
say that every takeover... Like, we say that every takeover, and that's a good thing.
No. I said that Takeover 31 was the best of the pandemic era, but, like, this show made me forget that it was, like, a pandemic era show. Sure, there was the lame-ass adding in crowd noise and shit like that. That's nothing that they can control. They want to try and make it as lively as possible. But the match quality on this show, top to bottom, finally felt like Takeover Portland or Takeover New York. From like the NXT in-ring quality, where there was that many great matches, a couple very good ones, and just a show that you go away, like, even though it was predictable, you still were like, fuck, those matches kicked ass. I love this show. I thought the main event was fucking fantastic. A match of the year contender, Gargano versus, obviously talking WWE, right? Like, I don't compete WWE with other promotions. We're talking just within the WWE banner. As far as a WWE match of the year contenders go, I think like Kushida versus Gargano and Balor versus Dunne are up there. I marginally, by like a quarter star, liked Kushida and Gargano more, but I would say, and even the tag team finals for MSK and Grizzled Young Veterans. If you haven't seen any of those,
like that too.
If you haven't seen any of those three matches, take the time and watch them. They're worth your time. They're great. This is the best NXT has looked in a long time. They needed a show like this. They needed to revitalize their brand. It's been a brand with decent stuff, with like just kind of predictable stuff going on, and it doesn't have a sense of urgency to it. Now it does. After a show like this is what they needed. Can they keep the momentum going? That's questionable. We'll see what they do in the next couple weeks. But okay, so for scores for the matches, for the opener, I give it a solid 3.5. Gargano and Kushida gets a solid 2 thumbs up. The tag team finals for the men, I would also give 2 thumbs up, marginally 2. It's more than a 1.5. The women's triple threat gets a 1.5, and then obviously a solid 2 thumbs up for the main event, for an A+ show that also gets 2 solid thumbs up from me. I think this is the best takeover in a year, if not almost like a year and a half. It's been a while since they had a show of this quality. Like, we say they're always very good to great, but I thought this was next level good. Or next level great. Gabe, your final analysis of this show.
It impresses me how every pandemic era takeover is just getting better and better.
Yeah, it really does seem to be that way.
This is the first time this is still under not a live crowd, so it just shows that NXT is promising as time goes on.
They can do it if they put the chips together and form something. They can do it. This show proved it. So
it's so as in terms of match ratings and reviews, I think I gave the first one, the women's tag match, like a thumb up.
Yeah, I think you gave 2 to Gargano and Kushida. Then we never gave the thumbs up for the last 3 matches. So now would be the time to give the last 3.
So and then men's Dusty Cup. That's I want to say that's like a 1.5. If
fair enough.
Close to 2 thumbs. It's just my problem with it was it's just a lot of tag team spots. Like, it didn't really seem transition.
Yeah, I mean, I did really like the action, and I thought it was great, but there was a lot of guys hit their finish and then it gets
Yeah.
broken up or kicked out of, which
just just the indie stuff, like basic indie stuff, which isn't bad. Which
it
is
isn't
always
bad,
awesome
but
when in person.
there was a couple times where I felt it got maybe a little excessive.
Yeah,
but I
like,
still thought the teams worked great together. It's not the biggest knock on the match. It's just if I had to find a fault, that would be one of them.
It's just indie spot, pin, kick out. Okay, indie spot, pin, kick out. It's just rinse and repeat for the MSK, which isn't always bad, so that's why I gave it.
And I thought it worked in this environment, so I can't knock it too bad.
Because it's the Dusty Cup Finals. There's no real backstory between these two. It's just two, kick-ass teams trying to get that,
tag team shot, the tag title shot.
Title.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's that's a thumb and a half. And then the women's match, that was my personal least favorite, because it was just really weird. But they, still great workers. Not the worst match ever, obviously. We kept nailing that in the head. But that was my least favorite, like a thumb and a half, a thumb up as well.
One thumb, right? Yeah.
One thumb, yeah. One thumb up, and then the main event, of course, is just a wrestling classic as well. So just 2 thumbs up.
Fucking Finn and Pete didn't disappoint when they finally got in that ring together.
Imagine that match with the live crowd.
It would have. Okay, here's the thing. If that match would have been in front of a live crowd, I think it might have even would have been better than Kushida and Gargano. I think it would have been close to being like a 5-star classic had there been like a legitimate crowd to do dueling chants and elevate the atmosphere. But alas, it didn't have that, so it's just a standard, very great match. But I just think of what that match would have been like in front of a live crowd. It would have been the crowd would have took that match to completely the next level, but we'll never know because it was a pandemic main event. But still a fucking great one that you should go out of your way to see.
Yes, sir.
Please do so.
Before we close it off, I just want to ask one last thing about the closing segment from the show.
Yep.
Who keeps the UE theme? Someone has to keep that theme.
Imagine if they just completely disregard it and give all guys all new theme music. I imagine it goes to Cole.
No, they're gonna have to keep. That's what
I imagine it goes to Cole. Yeah, imagine it goes to Cole because he's the guy who goes boom. He's got Adam Cole, baby. He's got his shit with that fucking entrance, right? So I imagine since he's the big kahuna of the Undisputed Era, he keeps the theme song. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But it could go either way too, because Kyle O'Reilly, his
air guitar,
it's going nowhere if that's not his theme, because that's just his thing.
Yeah, we need to see the air guitar when he wins the NXT title, so he can do it with the belt. Yeah. Do you agree that he gets it sometime by the end of the year? Do you think he becomes champion this year? I think it's gonna happen. I think they're gonna book him to win. Or you're not sure?
I'm not sure because this breakup really could go anywhere. Of course, the end result is okay. Let's have Kyle win the strap. But look at how long it took for Gargano Ciampa to finally give Gargano the belt. And it wasn't even from Ciampa. It was from Cole. So
yeah, but that was circumstantial. Like if Tommaso could have worked that match, he was dropping the belt to Johnny.
But still, look how long that took. So many years.
And then the payoff still wasn't all that good because then Tommaso's a babyface and Johnny's a heel, and they have a cinematic match.
Yeah. So I'm just saying it's gonna take a while. It could take a while for O'Reilly to win the strap. In my opinion.
So so you're saying it could take a while to where it could be 2022 by the time he wins it,
If it's that good, they're going to book it long term. So that's how I see it. So his O'Reilly's first theme in NXT, it was in his first match against Black.
I don't even remember it, to be honest. It's so long ago.
It's a banger. I really hope that
he brings it back.
Yeah, it was Io the Dragon something. Hold on, it's some awesome like rock song. Lightning and Thunder. Yeah, that's what it's called. Because I downloaded that song. It's too good. I think you would like it too.
I gotta listen to it then if it's like a rock song.
I'll send it to you. It's a rock song. It's a really good rock song. Like
nice.
Kyle O'Reilly's entrance was so badass when he first debuted in NXT. It was the best. So yeah, I hope he gets that back if Cole does keep the UE theme.
So yes, I would say this is an early contender for at least NXT Show of the Year. Or WWE Show of the Year. It's an early contender for that. I know we're only in February, but I said the same thing about Portland, and that did in fact end up by the end of the year being the best show that WWE did all year, so we shall see. I mean, there could be a takeover that happens and tops this one, even though it's a pandemic, and I could be wrong, but it's an early contender as of right now. So Gabe, the floor is now yours for the cheapest of plugs. If you got anything to plug, do it now. If not, throw the lines back to me, and I'll do our usual outro.
with life being so busy for me, especially so, I've been doing military stuff and I've been, with the news going on lately, the crazy stuff in the White House and the, DC in general. I haven't been really focusing on content lately, but when I can, I've always, put out some funny like songs or like some inspirational videos. So I got nothing to really plug. I just come out with those randomly now just to see like, oh, okay, let's see how this turns out. So I've been mostly active here, believe it or not, even though it's been 3 months, Braden. So I've been mainly doing my content,
It's just this
here.
is the structure for the outro, so I throw it to you to give your last little piece, and then it comes back to me.
Yeah.
So you know
Yes,
how
sir.
we've done
So,
enough of these that this is how it
yeah.
goes. This is
So
how it
just
be.
I'm basically, like just
When I ask for the
Gabe
plug,
months
that's
now.
like Gabe and Brandon's personal outro, right? Like that's their way to close out the show before I fucking fully decide to use my little cliches before I end the recording. So anyway, you can listen to us on Anchor, which is now officially a podcast producer for Spotify. It's Anchor by Spotify now. So it's a more than an affiliate of Spotify. It's like an actual official Spotify platform. But we are also available on the affiliate platforms, in which case Spotify was one of them, but they still also are affiliated with the following platforms that we are also on. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Copy RSS, and the mention for a million times Spotify itself. That's my personal favorite platform for podcasts and music. I use it, so I imagine much of our listeners also probably listen to this here podcast on Spotify. I think technically listening to it on Anchor means you're listening to it on Spotify anyway. So, and also if you happen to watch the video form of this podcast and watching my beautiful face and my Discord light up for my desktop here and all that stuff, and you're watching the video form of this and you liked what you've seen and heard, give that Bracer YouTube channel a little subscribe, because these podcasts get uploaded in video form just like they get uploaded. They get uploaded in video form to YouTube, just like they get uploaded to audio form to Anchor. They both get posted on both platforms every time they're finished recording. And if you happen to also like Nintendo and Smash Brothers and all that kind of stuff, I do speculation videos going through the rest of this DLC until it comes out. And then I'll change gears and figure out what to do with my gaming content once the DLC expires. I always find a way to figure that out. But yeah, if you're interested in gaming speculation sphere talk, this channel's all about that too, and you can subscribe for that stuff as well. I have a video planned for this week, in fact. I'm going to be talking about the most slept on potential DLC characters that no one is talking about. Everybody's talking about Crash, everybody's talking about Ryu Hayabusa, but nobody's talking about Saul Bad Guy from Guilty Gear. Nobody's talking about Captain Toad. Nobody's talking about some of the other... Nobody's talking about Bill Reiser from Contra, which could be another potential Konami character. So there's a few characters I have in mind for that video, and that'll be coming up sometime this week. So that is all from me and the Apron Bumps crew, and we're going to Spanish fly on out of here. See you next time, folks.
He can't jump. Captain